Let's do it. All right, Amy, thanks for coming on again.
Thanks for having me.
Second time.
Yeah.
Why don't you just do a quick introduction?
Okay.
Tell people who you are, and then we'll dive into all the juicy stuff.
Yeah. I am Amy Zalneraitis. I am the co-founder of We Feed Raw and the chief brand officer. And We Feed Raw is a pet nutrition company, scaling safe and nutritious raw meals. We deliver raw nationwide. We have delivered over 20 million meals to date. So
20 million?
yeah,
Dang.
yeah,
That's a lot.
I know.
So Amy has been on, what was it, 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years. I don't know if it was exactly 2 years. I remember it was February and very cold.
Very cold.
Now it is.
It's not. It's nice. Well, I will say, it just got nice.
I know.
Like
That's what I've heard.
we went from, I'm not even kidding, 30 to 40 degree nights to 90-degree days overnight. I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
Like today's Monday. On Friday, it was like 40 degrees.
Wow.
Like that.
It's crazy. It must feel good though.
It does, but then it's all the pollen, and you got to really quick, like, okay, I got to overseed and I got to open the pool, and it's like this really quick.
Yes.
I'm like a last minute type of guy. So for me, like, there's other people who are probably prepared and like, but it just didn't feel like May at all.
Yeah.
It was cold and rainy and like just dark. And now it's nice.
Now it's nice. I'm in Charleston, so we had the pollen situation about a month and a half ago.
So what's the big shift you're seeing? So a couple of years ago when you came on, you guys make amazing food, which I feed my dogs with and have feed my dogs for a long time on. What has been the big shift in the industry?
Yeah. I think the biggest change I've noticed in the last couple of years is the way people are thinking about food. There's been this massive shift in the human world toward viewing food as medicine. People are paying attention to ingredient labels, to processing, to metabolic health, gut health, inflammation, longevity, and they're questioning ultra-processed food more than they did even a few years ago. So I think when you have that light bulb moment for yourself personally, it's really hard to not start asking the same questions about your dog's food. So a lot of the growth that we've seen in the last few years, I don't think it's from us convincing people. It's from people arriving at this on their own because they're already, looking so closely at their own food labels and trying to reduce inflammation in their own bodies. So I think dogs are just naturally getting pulled into the conversation. That said, there's still not everyone, is connecting the two. Not everyone is connecting, having this realization about ultra processed foods and extending it to their pets. I think we're in this really interesting transition period where for some people, the logic of feeding fresh food to dogs makes immediate sense. And to others, kibble is still the safest, best, most nutritionally and scientifically sound option because that is how they've been marketed to for decades. One of the most fascinating things about working in this space is seeing how polarized and emotional the reactions still are. So every day, we hear from people who are seeing real intangible results from switching to this food. Some of those things are more subtle, like more mealtime excitement. The dog has more energy, less itching. They lost or gained the few pounds that they needed. And others are truly dramatic, like people telling us things like, my dog was on death's door and I switched to this food and I genuinely believe it's given me more good years with my dog. So we hear that every day, all day. And then on the flip side, you'll go to our ads and see some comments that are just like violently opposed to this way of feeding, from people who have clearly never tried it. But just the other day, I saw a comment that was said something like, the FDA should shut down all raw companies. Feeding raw is cruelty to dogs. Cruelty to dogs. So that's like not just a disagreement, that is a strong moral reaction. And I think what's happening is that pet food isn't just food culturally, it's tied to trust, it's tied to safety, it's tied to authority, and I think it's tied to what people think responsible pet ownership should look like. So when kibble has been positioned as not only the most convenient option for decades, but also the most scientifically perfected way to feed a dog, when you introduce the idea of fresh, raw meat, organs, and bones, some people don't see that as like an alternative way to feed or a healthier way to feed. They see it as a direct challenge to what they have accepted as settled science for their entire lives. So, as we were just talking about earlier before we started, it triggers this cognitive dissonance, which is basically the psychological discomfort somebody feels when new information conflicts with what they've believed to be true for a very long time. And what's so interesting about cognitive dissonance is our inclination isn't to resolve that dissonance by immediately believing the new information. It's to
Mm.
protect the brain and to try to find ways to discredit that new information. So we do see this, in raw feeding, like, oh, raw feeding is just a trend. It's pseudoscience. If kibble were so bad, why would so many dogs be eating it? Why would all of these vets be recommending it? So I just think that people I understand the emotional reaction. A lot of people, even subconsciously, are trying to defend an identity that they are a good dog owner. And if they have to, consider that unknowingly they might have not made the best choices for their dog, it's really an uncomfortable thought. So they try to find ways to not to remove that discomfort.
How do you respond to those comments where they're like, "You
Uh,
guys are the worst"?
yeah. It's really a lot of times you have to decide, and I'm not really the one responding. We have a team that does, but we've all, strategized on this. I think sometimes you're not really responding to the person making the comment. You're responding so that the other people reading it, who might be a little bit more open minded, hear what you have to say,
Yeah.
because clearly that person doesn't want to hear what you have to say, right? Like they're completely closed off. They think that you should go to jail for,
Mhm.
making raw food.
It also could just be like a 13-year-old little boy on
It
there.
could be. It could
It's
be.
like that's just like talking shit.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes you can usually tell when it's those types of kids, though. But we will sometimes respond if it's really belligerent. We'll just like ignore it. We really don't delete comments either. We tend to just keep them, and other people can read through and see.
Mm.
But if it's something that feels like it warrants, more information because it will help maybe that person understand or the other people, reading the comments understand. We definitely do, because there is so much misinformation, and sometimes we'll have these, ads where it's literally us talking about, say it's a study that proves the benefits of raw or the safety steps we take that we get into like detail. And then the comments will be like, but this isn't safe. And it's like, but we just told you like in detail. So, people just don't want to hear it. It's just a complete block. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I just think that that's the world that you're gonna live in when
Yeah.
you are trying to influence people in the right and I shouldn't say the right direction, but trying to influence people in a direction that is helpful to others.
Yeah. And when you're trying to disrupt,
Yeah.
a space, and I think people have a hard time. I mean, this has happened in human space too. Remember when, cigarettes were
Yeah.
like not bad for you and even gave you energy, and pregnant women smoked and doctors smoked, and margarine was better than butter, and fat free was all the rage, and
Cholesterol.
yeah, it's like we've seen this a lot in the human space too,
Mhm.
you know?
Where it goes like this
Yeah.
this roller coaster
Yeah.
of information,
Yes.
and I think it's just the more I get to talk to people about it, the different doctors I have on and
Yeah.
stuff, I always try to tell people just if you wanna learn something about something new, you just have to try to be objective where you zoom all the way out
Yeah.
and you go, "Does" that's what I try to do. Is like, if somebody is putting out information that isn't necessarily targeting somebody of like you're because when we talk about raw food, we're like, you can either do it or not, but it's
Yeah.
okay either way.
Right.
And you can do a little bit or you can do none or you
Yeah.
can do all, it's
Yeah.
okay. We're not telling you if you don't do it, you're a bad dog owner.
Right.
Or we're not telling you if you don't do it, your dog's not going to be happy.
Right.
We're just trying to tell people same thing for training, where somebody's getting dragged down the road
Mhm.
and maybe I'm like, well, try maybe a different piece of equipment that might be beneficial. I don't want to see you get dragged
Yeah.
because I'm not that person that's like, I don't know. I just started my whole career of putting information out there to dog owners to help. And if it's not helpful or you don't like it, just change the channel.
Yeah.
But I think what happens in social media,
Yeah.
because it's such a new, in the last 10 years, it's really new where we have influencers and we have podcasts. To your point, that cognitive dissonance
Yes.
is a real thing where it goes against everything that you believe in. And so when somebody says raw food has helped my dog live longer or whatever, and people have been told their whole life, or that person has told other people their whole life that raw food is awful and gross and dangerous, it's you kind of look inward where you're like, this is offending me. Like
Yeah.
this goes against my whole IP. We see it in dog training all the time. Like I've posted these videos where dog owners have used, and other dog trainers do this as well all the time. But a dog owner will come in, they have used like 6 different dog trainers, and the owner's crying. They've been to the hospital, they've been dragged down, they've been broken arms. They're on the verge of either putting their dog down
Mhm.
or getting rid of their dog, or both.
Yeah.
And by the end of the video, by the end of the session, by the end of the training session, they reverse their roles in their dog, and they reverse their tears of happiness now, and they can't believe it. And there's people in the comments, and this is early on. I don't talk about this anyways. This is kind of like funny because I used to talk about this a lot because it used to affect me so much.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did you too in the beginning when you started
Yeah.
getting into marketing and trying to reach new people and grow your sister's company and really try to get it to the next level. And you're like, guys, this is going to be amazing. It's so helpful. And
Yeah.
people are like, you're the devil.
Yeah.
And that's what we would get in
Yeah.
the comments, be
Yeah.
like, you know, well, you did it wrong and you shouldn't have done this and it's unethical. And you're like, you're scratching your head going,
Yeah.
but I will tell you this. The reason why I don't get upset too much about what other people say in the comments is because I know that they're subjective and they're not interested in
Yes.
having an opinion. Because I know for a fact, if I'm flipping through something and I see something, I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to click and go,
Yeah.
you son of a.
Yeah.
But there has been this death over discomfort movement,
Yeah.
even in the dog space, where we've had shelters, we've had rescue organizations put dogs down because if they worked with somebody that went against their policy, this cognitive dissonance thing that we're talking about, it's this mental tick.
Mhm.
If somebody came in and used a piece of equipment that they have been making the worst thing possible
Yeah.
and help the dog,
Yeah.
I've seen it. They actually will kill the dog. So it's to your point,
Yes, I know.
it's this whole thing.
It's crazy. It's really crazy that I mean, I think, we're just so attached to, I mean, it's just hard to, you know, change that part of your identity because it makes you question, what else do I have to question then? And, even being in this space and experiencing it, being in this role, it's made me look at I'm like, wait, what else have I, just
Yeah.
accepted as status quo that maybe shouldn't be? I mean, we have a right to question things. And just, I'm not saying you should accept everything that someone's telling you without, rumination or thought. But uh, I do think open your mind to consider other ways. There's real evidence. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think there was like real evidence and real science behind this way of feeding. And there are plenty of experts that support that. And there's like evolution that supports that too, right?
Mhm.
This isn't just the South Beach diet for dogs.
Like
Right?
like a
You know,
trend.
yeah, it's really not. It's like it's been around for millions of years. Nature decided this was best for dogs. So I think people do have that light bulb moment when they have an open mind to it. But it's just interesting to see the resistance still. And I think that is coming from what, we're talking about, that cognitive dissonance, that, identity being wrapped up in something else. And a lot of people, I mean, we fed our childhood dogs kibble,
Heck yeah.
we didn't
And
know.
gravy train.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And what I've been trying to tell people and having experts on like you and doctors and people with PhDs about nutrition
Yeah.
is the research it's so new to. And so I want to just talk about, like, again, I think one thing that you and I are pretty passionate about is we're not trying to tell people what they have to do with their dog. I don't do that with dog training. You don't do that with nutrition. It's just alternatives.
Yep.
Hey, have you tried this?
Yeah.
Have you looked at this? Because I know feeding my dog a not ultra processed diet has changed the skin and the temperament. So what can you say to dog owners with all the research that you've done within your own company?
Mhm.
Like, what can you tell dog owners to? Because I think the big thing is the overwhelmingness of like the cost
Yeah.
and for me, it's, you guys probably, grit your teeth when you see me, like, you guys have this nice packaging that just, like,
The peel opening.
opens nice, and I'm
Yeah.
just cutting it every time. So, like, what dog owners who are listening to this podcast who want to benefit their dog's nutrition or their
Yeah.
longevity or their skin or their
Yeah.
gut,
Yeah.
what can you tell them right now that they can start doing that isn't, because to me, I think it's overwhelming, and I'd
Yeah.
like you to just walk them through that process.
Yeah, I mean, well, I will start by saying that we try part of, what we do is to try to make it less overwhelming. So when it comes to raw feeding, this is basically as simple as it gets. We plan, portion, ship everything directly to you. So really all you have to do is thaw and feed. Um, but that said, it's definitely a little bit more work than kibble, right? Scooping kibble into a bowl and feeding that way. Um, I think we definitely share the it's not all raw or nothing messaging a lot, so you don't have to go all in, right away. I think when thinking about people going from kibble to frozen raw overnight, isn't necessarily gonna happen all the time. You have to think about how to meet them where they are. So, we
Mm,
do really try to say, like, any fresh raw food is better than none. You can do that as a topper, a mixer, few meals a week. It doesn't have to be, like, sign up for a meal plan and then you're 100% raw feeder. For some people, that's just a psychological thing where they're not sure yet and they wanna sort of tiptoe into it. For others, it's a cost thing. We do have, like, very flexible meal plans, so you can sign up, for,
what's that mean?
that means that you can get a partial raw. So you could feed, let's say, 50% raw or 25% raw, and you would just mix that in with, what, say, kibble. We're not anti kibble. We always say we're not anti kibble per se. We are anti kibble only for an entire lifetime. So, how can you boost those kibble bowls? It can be with our food. We think that's, obviously, I'm going to say I think that's one of the best ways, but you can also do it with other real food. Um, you know, Go into your fridge and, do you have blueberries? Do you have like steamed veggies? Do you have leftover, chicken breast that hasn't been seasoned too much? All of that is going to boost a bowl that's filled with ultra processed pellets, because I think what we're getting trying to get people to see is that feeding only ultra processed food day after day for an entire lifetime is going to be damaging to your dog. That's just, we know that with people food, right? Um, do we want to wait around for the studies on dogs to see that that's damaging? Kibble is the definition of ultra processed food, right? Um,
What could you equate ultra processed food to, like, human food?
I mean, people always, like, use the cereal analogy, which I know some people don't love because it's, like, complete balance, it has everything your dog needs. It's like any I mean, McDonald's, like, fast food, you know, can it get you to the next day? Sure, but, like our nutritionist always says, nutrition is rarely a crisis. It's just down the road that it becomes one, and usually it's something else that
Mm.
becomes the crisis, and at that point, it's very hard to solve. So, I think that it's just, looking at it like, this is fast food. This is
Yeah.
fast food like you or I would eat it. It's industrial, modified to crazy amounts. It has all sorts of additives in it, um, things that mammals are not supposed to be eating. Our PhD nutritionist, Dr. Richard Patton, he wrote a book called Ruined by Excess, Perfected by Lack, which is kind of like a mouthful, but in it, he explores the evolutionary design of mammals, specifically canines. And what he says is that canines were never designed uh, to consume an abundance of calories, especially in the form of carbohydrates, right? They were, however, designed to handle temporary food shortages. So they're more designed for this like scarcity, but we're sort of overloading them with these carbohydrates. And in nature, they maybe had to deal with like the rare blood sugar spike from like honey or some other carbohydrate, but not a constant,
Mm.
you know, blood sugar spikes all day long, which is what kibble is doing to them, right? So it's really interesting how like in nature they were designed for this like other sort of situation, and now we're assaulting them with carbohydrates in every
Yeah.
bowl.
Yeah, I learned a lot about that naturally when I was in the wolf sanctuaries. So when I was,
Yeah.
volunteering at the wolf sanctuaries early on in my career in Colorado,
Mhm.
we would the, um, law enforcement or the rangers, like the
Yeah.
park rangers, because Colorado is like they have huge state parks and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like different jurisdictions of law enforcement.
Mhm.
And when we would be there, so they had the wolves, and the wolves would, and these are all wolves. It's a sanctuary for wolves. And so they would be born in movie projects for like, I remember we had a couple wolves there that were born for the Twilight series and some other ones.
Okay.
Now they're not using them as much because CGI has gotten so much better and AI has gotten so much
Yeah.
better. But back in the day
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
um, in my early 20s, I'd drive up to this. It was like the most inspiring, cathartic time in my life
Yeah.
where I was like so primal. It was
Yeah.
so fun. I'll never
Yeah.
forget like the
Yeah.
feelings I got. So I'd land in Colorado Springs and I'd drive up the mountains about 2.5 hours. And the closest town is this little town called Westcliff, Colorado, which is
Mhm.
like an old mining town.
Mhm.
And the Santa de Cristo Mountains are in the background, beautiful mountain range. And then from Westcliff, it was still like another 40-minute drive up into the mountains, and you
Mhm.
really and on the website, it says, like, very specific, and this was a time where I would print out what you
Yeah.
call it?
The
Because
directions.
and I had a cell phone, obviously,
Yeah.
was a decade or so ago,
Yeah.
but you didn't get service.
Yeah.
So if you got out there and, like, say your page didn't refresh or something, like, you're
Yeah.
screwed. So I remember printing these things out, and I'd drive up there, and you just drive up and you start seeing these like wolf signs, like, wolf sanction. It was like,
Oh, that's so
oh, it
cool.
was really cool.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting up there and you get out and it's just like, I was born in Colorado. So
Okay.
I have a deep, deep passion and tie to Colorado,
Yeah.
like the blue skies.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the crisp air,
Yeah.
the just the aspen trees,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Beautiful.
So you drive all the way up this trail and you get up on this sanctuary and it's just pens of wolves and you can see them kind of scattering around and laying down and you see some white fur and some black fur and
Mhm.
a lot of them were for movie projects at the time, but then there's also just like the sanctuary for like wolf dogs and
Okay.
hybrids
Yes.
and even in certain states, I don't know if this is true anymore, in certain states you could buy wolves. I think in like Big Sky, like Montana, you could just buy wolf puppies, bear cubs. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I don't know if it's still
And then
legal.
people would keep them as pets?
Try to. Same thing as
Okay.
Florida though. Like you can buy tiger,
Yeah, oh,
like
yeah,
you know what I
that's
mean?
true. I
Like
also
there's
thought tigers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. Like you
Yeah.
could just buy out west, you can just buy wolf puppies and like own them as pets. I think you have to have. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I lived out there and I would stay there for like 2 weeks at a time. I'd go home and I'd come back out and I'd go
Yeah.
home and come back out.
What would you do out there?
Interesting enough, like my whole career has been just find a way, like
Yeah.
whatever it takes,
Yeah.
right? That's just been my MO my whole life
Yeah.
has been like I want to do this.
Yeah.
I'd sit here and I'd write a lot of notes
Yeah.
and I'd say, okay, if I want this,
Yeah.
these are the steps I have to take to get this. That's how I've done everything in my life.
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes longer and sometimes, it happens pretty quick, but I wanted to learn more about canines.
Yeah.
Because when I transitioned from a dog walker to a professional dog trainer, I had such imposter syndrome, and I still do, but I was like, I'm not a dog trainer. I need to learn more about dogs. I just was innately, good with
Yes.
dogs, just like a lot of dog people. Like when I was a little baby in diapers, carrying around dogs, like
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
But once I started crossing into that, like, okay, because at the time I couldn't make any money. I couldn't keep my lights on. I couldn't
Yeah.
pay for my bills. I worked at a pizza shop just to eat because I just couldn't afford it.
And this is when you were just starting out as a dog trainer?
Yeah, kinda like that blend of
Yeah.
still a dog walker,
Oh, okay, but not trying to get
but
into
people
yeah.
but the thing was is people were like, "I'll pay you $20 an hour to train my dog," and, a decade ago, I was like, "Wow, I can make $100 a day," and
Yeah.
that was, like, a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have 2 pennies to
Yeah.
scratch at all.
Yeah.
Like, I had no money. I had a piece of crap truck that I couldn't go over 50 because it would fall apart, like, I couldn't get to certain clients, it was bad. So I remember I wanted to learn more about canines,
Yeah.
and so I said, "If I can figure out a way to work with wolves, that would give me a lot of confidence knowing how they move." Because I worked with a lot of, like, insecure rescue dogs that couldn't go to daycare as a
Yeah.
dog walker, so I was like, "I just wanna go work with wolves." So what I ended up doing is I contacted this Mission Wolf, because they were, like, the biggest. Kent Weber, which was the director at the time, I'm not sure if he still is, he was on, like, Mr. What's it? Mr. Rogers. He's been on like all the talk shows back in the day. He was on an episode of like Dog Whisperer. Like
Mhm, mhm.
that was like the guy, like the
Yeah.
wolf guy. He did a reintroduction to Yellowstone a couple times. He was like the wolf guy.
Yeah.
So I looked up Mission Wolf and I said, okay, I can't afford to get out there. So in my head, I'm like, how can I afford to get out there? So I was doing a pet CPR and first aid certification course at the time through a company called Pet Tech,
Okay.
and I was an instructor. So I was like, okay. And I contacted him. I was like, could I come out there and teach this course? And like, is that something that like because they do volunteer like tours and they do educational programs for kids. And so they actually said, we think it would be awesome if you can teach your pet tech course to the 4 groups of kids who come out during this program called the Road Less Traveled, which typically are like well off inner city kids who don't get outside a lot.
Okay.
So
That's
kids who live in New York
yeah,
City,
yeah,
Chicago,
yeah,
etc., where
yeah.
they have money but they don't get outside,
Yes.
you know? So they'd send them off to like they do like 4 different locations throughout the year, and one
Okay.
of them was in Colorado.
Okay.
And so they'd have to camp,
Mhm.
they'd have to, make their food over fire type of thing.
Yeah.
Great,
Yes.
great program for young kids. And so they said it would be cool if you came out during the weeks that they were here and you could teach their class and the kids would walk away with a certification,
Yeah.
which was big for them. So they said, we can offer a certification program now, which will keep the kids, it's a good
Yeah.
program. So I was like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, it's I think I said it was like $90 per cert, right? And it only costed me $10 for the
Yeah.
booklet, and then I get the rest.
Yeah.
So it's like $80 per
Yeah.
kid. And they're like, okay, we will give you a place to stay, and you can certify the 12 kids who come each, like throughout the summer. It was like, one in June, twice in July, and twice in August or whatever. So I'd go home and come back and go home and come back. So that's how I did it.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd go out. So basically, it would just pay enough for me to get out there.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't make any money. But I go out there with my fake dog to teach CPR. I travel back and forth, and I did that for years.
Yeah.
And the thing about wolves is I just realized I'm like, okay, so the wildlife service would call and say, hey, there was a elk killed by a car. There was a deer or whatever carcass would be killed
Yeah.
that night or that early morning, they would call the wolf sanctuary and they would bring them up.
Yeah.
And they'd come up like in the back of a truck, these
Yeah.
giant elk, these huge, being from upstate New York and stuff, like living there, I never really seen these big massive
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. And then they would hang them up and we'd carve. So we'd go out there and we'd put on our aprons and we'd butcher up, and the wolves are and they're howling and they're running back and forth.
Wow.
But the crazy thing was, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because I just realized how primal these animals are. They wanted the heart, they wanted the kidney, they wanted the liver,
Yeah.
they wanted all the vitals.
Yeah, they go for the organ.
They wanted that.
Yeah.
And it was like so interesting because some of these wolves were hybrids. So they did have like
Yeah.
husky. And so they were like half dog,
Yeah.
half wolf,
Yeah.
right? Some of them were 100% timber wolf. And it was so for me, like learning how to butcher an animal to then feed to wolves moments after
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Talk about light bulb moment.
it was like, and so they were like, no. I was like, okay, so do we trim off the hair? They're like, no, keep it on.
Yeah.
I'm like, but, and so here's the thing, because in my head, I'm like,
Trim off the hair.
yes,
Do they need a little sauce on here?
that's what I'm saying. Like, as somebody who professionally worked with doggies at the time,
Yeah.
I was still like, it just was still crazy to me that I'm like, they're gonna eat all this
Yeah, you're
hair.
still removed from like the actual natural process
Yep,
of it.
the hooves,
Yeah.
horns, eyeballs,
Yeah.
and they loved it.
Yeah.
But the thing was, is these animals were 13, 14, 15, 16 years old and doing well.
Yeah.
And their teeth, this is what I remember the most, is their teeth were so good, and it's because of the hides. And they fed other things too, but it's a little graphic to get into. But it was
Small children are
no, no. They had a wolf sanctuary, or they had a horse sanctuary down the.
okay.
They also had a horse sanctuary. They would take mustangs,
Oh.
abused, whatever. And once the animal, when they were basically going to put the animal down instead of euthanasia with, medication or whatever, they would just put the animal down with a bullet.
Yeah.
And I've butchered many horses too. It's crazy, like, but they're like, hey man, this is the circle of life.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are so removed
Oh yeah.
from the process in which even we eat our meat, like they call it, like the hitman butcher or whatever,
Yes, yes.
where you like see the cute
Yeah.
cows and the pigs, and you're like, oh, they're so cute. I would never be able to put one of those down. But then you go to the supermarket and you have no problem getting factory farm food,
Mhm.
right? The animals who are being treated like crap,
Yeah.
they're put down at such a high stress life, right?
Yeah.
The cortisol's pumping, it's bad. It's all bad.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why I'm telling you this wolf story is I think so many people are disconnected with what animals will actually do.
Oh,
Even the other day, Lakota, as it gets springtime, the bunnies will like do their nests and
yeah.
stuff. Lakota got into one, and
Oh, yeah.
all these baby bunnies were ripped up, and she's sitting there playing with them, ripping them up in the air, eating them alive. And I'm like, so I think people just have a hard time with the realities of what our dogs are.
Yeah, they're animal predators, and it's funny because this is a good segue into, like, the humanization trend, which is huge now in the pet world, right? And human in the pet food world too, and I think people dogs used to live outside, and now they're fully, like, integrated into our lives. They sleep in our beds. We put them in Christmas sweaters during the holidays. They travel with us. I mean, it's so great that we look at them. I read a statistic that, like, 79% of dog owners view their dogs as family members.
Mm,
That's a great thing. But I think there's a nuance that gets missed, especially when it comes to, like, pet food, because human grade as a term, is a good thing, right? You should look for human grade ingredients, but it's not, don't stop there, right? Because there's lots of buzzwords, human grade, fresh, natural. Um, you can have great, healthy human grade ingredients that aren't biologically appropriate or aren't, great for a dog. So what's great for us does not always translate to a dog. Um, you can have, a brand of pet food that's human grade, fresh, natural, but it's still 40 to 50%, starch, rice, potatoes. Like, that's not ideal for a dog. That's not biologically aligned with what they need. They still need a raw meat-based diet. They're meat eaters. So, I think people get lost in that. It's confusing, right? It's like, again, you should look for our food is all sourced from USDA human grade meats. That's an important factor. Otherwise, you're getting feed grade likely.
mm.
But I think people don't understand. They just think, oh, human grade, that must mean it's healthy. Your dog's bowl is not supposed to look like yours. They're not small people, right? So they're not supposed to eat what you eat.
Mm.
And I think, that's confusing a lot of people now, especially with a lot of the pet food brands coming out in the fresh space.
So the fresh stuff is getting more and more. Do you feel like you being in this space, do you think it's a good thing that the
I think it's a great thing that the category is growing, that we have all of these options that are healthier than kibble. But I still think that people need to be trained to look for the biologically appropriate ingredients, which is pretty simple, right? It should be meat first. There should be organs in there. We have, muscle meat, organ meat, bone. And so, and it doesn't mean that you can't have fruits and veggies in there, or there can't be some carbohydrates in there, but the majority of the diet should be meat.
Mm.
Dogs are meat eaters. So I just think it gets confusing for people with the human grade stuff and the humanization. And I just read an article in the New York Times, I think it was about, you know, pet wellness industry booming.
Mm.
And it's interesting to see what people are spending money on, thousands of dollars for like grooming appointments and blueberry facials around the dog's eyes to brighten the fur. And it's like, I mean, it's great. I'm all for like spoiling dogs, but like if the fundamentals aren't there first, like if you're doing all of those things and still feeding an ultra processed diet, then I think we've lost the plot a bit, right?
Right, because it's kinda like, again, working out, being health conscious, eating organic foods, fruits, whatever else you do in your healthcare, right? Your sauna or
Yeah.
whatever, and then you're just like, at night, you're just eating McDonald's.
Yeah. Or I think also we kind of talk about this a lot on our socials is like, don't overcomplicate it, because I think if you overcomplicate, you're more likely to abandon it, right? Or it's going to feel so overwhelming, or
Mm.
people don't even start because they're like, oh, I have to have like this 12-step routine. I need to have this supplement and this fish oil and this. It's like, start with the basics, right? It's good food, it's exercise, it's sleep, it's time in nature, it's companionship. That's it. And then if you want to add things onto that later,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
go for it. But you really need to start with the fundamentals. And I think if you just keep it simple, you'll see so many results from that too,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to really, I think it's highly unlikely that you're going to see results from feeding an ultra processed diet and then doing, like, supplement after supplement and acupuncture and, like, all of these other things if you're still the diet is still off.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm so big about nutrition,
Yeah.
is because the gut and the brain
Yeah.
are very connected,
Yes.
just like with humans.
Yes.
I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm health conscious, I would say, but I'm not like, I'm not like one of those people who are counting my carbs and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I know that, okay, if I go have some ice cream tonight,
Yeah.
which is not great for you, right? Like all that dairy and sugar,
Mhm.
like I know like, okay, I'm gonna feel like crap,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be good. The kids are gonna like it.
Yeah.
I think it's just about balance.
It is about balance. It's not about being perfect. We always say that too. Like, I mean,
Right.
we both have kids. Like, I have an 8-year-old. It's hard to feed him healthy food all the
Yeah.
time. I try my best and I'm like,
Especially with grandparents.
I know. But like even just like packing their lunches for school, like it's like
Mm,
packaged healthy thing. It's not like I'm not sending him to school with like salmon and broccoli,
mhm.
steamed broccoli. Like that's just not happening. But I do try to make sure that most of the time, he's getting whole foods.
Yeah,
Obsessed with smoothies. Smoothies is my
same.
drink.
I got one right
No,
in that cooler right
yeah.
there.
But smoothies for kids. That's how I get
What do
nutrients
you
good to my son.
what do you use? What do you do?
I do, so chocolate milk is my secret. It's how I sweeten everything, bananas and chocolate milk, but, then once I have that as the sweet base, I can do blueberries, avocado, strawberries, all organic, by the way, and then I can sneak some greens in there too.
Yeah.
So as long as it's sweet enough, I can usually get the other
You
stuff.
know what's funny is Banks, my 3-year-old,
Yeah.
anytime I make a smoothie, "Daddy, don't put beets in it." He's going, "Don't put beets in it."
Yeah,
Or anytime cause I make a smoothie every day,
yeah,
and it's like I've been making a smoothie every day for like 5, 6 years, like every morning. I
yeah,
just don't have a huge appetite.
yeah.
But so, my wife Taylor has gotten this, by the way, Taylor's producing this podcast, so shout out to Taylor for the first time. So, but she's got this, vanilla bean. It's like actual vanilla bean in a protein powder.
Okay.
So it's pretty
Creamy.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because I'll make my smoothie and then I'll like literally, it's like a cat or a dog when they hear like,
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah.
so I'll literally and I'll screw in the top, and within seconds, he's like right there.
'Cause he likes it
And
so much.
and he's like, he takes it out of my hand, and before he sips, he's like, "Is there beets in here?" Like he can taste. I don't know what.
Oh my gosh, it gets worse as they get older too. It's funny because when Beckett was your kid's age, I used to make smoothies then too, but I was like a lot more aggressive with what I put in. Like I'd be like shoving like all sorts of like
Yeah.
grains in there. And I used to try to do it without him seeing because I didn't want him to see. One day he came into the kitchen and he was like, I don't want salad in my
Yeah.
smoothie. And I was like, no, it's not for you. And
Yeah.
like ever since it was like, so I had to rebuild the trust.
Yeah, it's funny. Last night, we did the same thing. I go, "Taylor, distract him for a second, because he wanted a smoothie. We came back from something, and I don't know, we were outside doing something, and he wanted a smoothie, so I told Taylor, I go, "Distract him for a second." So she lifts him up, she brings him out to the window, and I put an avocado in, like, every smoothie because he's, like, good
Yes.
fat.
So good. Yeah.
So I because anything green,
And it
he's
tastes good to them too. I
yeah,
guess it's
it's
not like it
creamy.
doesn't add yeah, exactly.
It just makes it creamy
Yeah,
and rich and
yeah,
thicker.
yeah,
You can't really taste the avocado,
right,
especially if you do fruit.
yeah,
So I said to Taylor, I go, "Distract him." So she picks him up, she brings him over there. Because if he sees anything green, like, for some reason, I can get away with spinach. He doesn't
yeah,
distinctly taste the spinach,
yes,
but it's just become this thing now where he's like, he steals my smoothie and
yeah,
asks me, like, "Is there beets in here?
yeah,
You better not put a beets in
yeah.
your smoothie." So I think for dog owners, it's very similar where like Lakota, she loves broccoli.
Oh,
Like it's
wow.
like
Yeah,
she loves broccoli. She loves fruit. She loves mango.
uh-huh,
Like anytime I'm making a smoothie,
yeah,
I kind of pay the tax there with that. But that's the thing I've been realizing is when we talk about better nutrition for dogs, especially for me as a trainer, because I'm always telling people like your dog comes in with anxiety and they can't sleep and they're
yeah,
pacing. I'm like, what are you feeding your dog?
yes,
Because like I said, like if I eat crap, I know I'm gonna feel like crap.
yeah,
I know if I eat good, I
yeah,
just know, right? And so it's the same thing for dogs. Like if they come in with severe whatever, anxiety, frustration, it's not like I don't get into the like if you're I don't get into like if you feed your dog a bad morning meal, they're going to be aggressive that day out of
yeah,
nowhere. I just think
right,
it compounds and it stacks. I'm like, if
absolutely,
your dog is getting too much sugar
yeah,
or your dog isn't getting enough protein,
yeah,
it does affect how they think overall or how they
How they
feel.
feel, of course, it's
Yeah.
just like us. I mean, dogs are facultative carnivores. They really are gonna be sensitive to carbs and starch in the way that kibble, what, 40 to 60% of it is
Yeah,
made up of starch. So they're getting that, those blood sugar spikes that we talked about all day long. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's just, it's kind of, scary to think about, like, what a lot of things that get labeled training problems or behavior problems are coming from the food. I don't think training happens in a vacuum. We have a lot of trainers that are clients of ours. We were talking about this earlier, but like trainers have always sort of been a lot of the pet professionals have been some of the earliest adopters of raw
for
feeding.
sure.
And I think it's because you guys see the whole animal, right? And you're like, look, you're really spending time with them. You have a good instinct about the way the dog should be behaving. So it makes very clear logical sense to trainers that this would be a good way to feed. And we talk to trainers all the time who do see results from dogs being on the right diet versus those who haven't. It doesn't mean you can't train a kibble fed dog,
Yeah.
obviously, right? But you're gonna get better results, I think, if the dog is feeling good and the dog is eating what they're supposed to be eating. We sent our dog to training. He was a rescue who was like a mess when we got him. He couldn't even walk on a leash. And um, there's a training facility near us in Charleston, and I've become good friends with the owner. But and it's expensive, right? It's expensive to vet your dog. It's like a big investment, and it was worth it. We're so glad we did.
Good.
But he was telling me like some of the dogs that go there for training, where these people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars, and they send them with. They're like, here's some rice and it's mostly rice and maybe just like a little bit of chicken. And it's like, this is what you want me to, because they have to send the dog with the food for the month. It's like, how are you not thinking like, how are you willing to spend all of this money on, one aspect of your dog's, well-being, but then you're completely neglecting this, like, very important part, and again, not to shame people for that, it's just a lack of awareness and knowledge about it,
That's it.
yeah,
Well, that's it. And that's the irony.
yeah,
And that's what I've been so passionate about. That's what this podcast is about.
yeah,
I don't get paid for, it's not like, oh,
yeah,
it's not like YouTube where every time I post I
yeah,
get paid by somebody. It's like I do this because I selfishly want to learn more
mhm,
and I want to help dog owners. That's how I started my whole career. Is I just wanted to help dog owners. I set up a camera and I said, I think me training this dog on camera would help somebody else. And
yeah,
that's how my whole career is naturally adopted. And so that's the same thing as I think people just don't know where they come in and they're like, I'll spend $7,000 on a board and train, and then they give you slop food, and they just don't know. Like, they want to do good.
yeah,
They want their dog to be healthy. They
right,
want their dog to think
right,
clearly and be trained,
right,
but they had no idea that that food is mostly carbs turned into sugar.
yeah,
They're getting all these spikes. The
right,
dog isn't getting the nutrition that they need. They're not getting the protein. I know I'm like a protein freak now. Like I have, in there, I have like protein stuffed away. I have protein in my car. I'm
yeah,
like, I start to like get really, I'm all in the biometrics now. So I got
yeah,
the Oura ring.
yeah.
I'm actually gonna get the blood sugar thing.
The glucose monitor?
Yeah,
I did it. It was I don't know. I had mixed feeling. It depends on the one you get, but I think you wear it for like 2 weeks, right? And then
yeah.
toward the end, it starts to get like it doesn't work as well. So you're like, wait, why am I?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Research some of I forget which brand I got, but it was eye opening, mainly to see also what's happening during sleep, right?
yeah,
Like what's happening to your blood sugar during sleep, like and how close you eat,
yeah.
to bedtime. So
So the reason why I wanted to do it is because there were just times where I would just feel like,
yeah.
like all of a sudden I would crash,
Yes.
like, and then I would get super hangry, and I know that that's blood sugar,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I just don't know when and where. And it's like
Yeah.
so because again with the smoothies in the morning that I've
Yeah.
been drinking
Yeah.
my whole life,
Yeah.
my adult life, it seems, you know, it's like it is a bunch of sugar,
Yeah.
but I know
Yes.
a bunch of people who like what's his name, Jesse. What's his name? Jesse. He's like the motivational guru guy. He lives in New York City. Taylor, what's his name? The guy Jesse Eisenbert. Yeah. Yeah, what's his name? What's his last name? Anyway,
Yeah.
he does this diet that he learned way back in the 90s by this guy who wrote a book where you only eat fruit before 12 or whatever. So he does that.
Oh, before 12.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was just like, sometimes I'll wake up
Yeah.
and I just crash, like absolutely crash, and I just feel lethargic. And then I get like feast and famine where I'm like,
You need to eat.
I need to eat, and I'm just like grilling steak, and I'm eating avocados and bananas and like chewing nuts, and I'm like, what is? It doesn't happen all the time, but I do want to know
'Cause
what.
yeah, it could be some foods, even like a banana, for example. Like I know some
Yeah.
people can eat a banana in the morning. It doesn't really do much to your blood sugar, but if you eat it like closer to the evening, it does spike your blood sugar for much longer. So it's interesting if you actually track the foods that you're eating at, and
Yep.
it gives you a little, like, you look on the app and see.
Snapshot.
It's a little biohacky thing too.
It is. There's one that hooks up to the Aura Ring,
Oh,
and I'm just so big on like, as I get older, like
yeah.
things, I'm more sensitive to things, right? So I just want to know what affects me and how, and
Yeah.
like every day is such an amazing opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, I don't want to spend like, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast,
Yeah.
but if I have like a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
I ruin my day.
Oh, that's
Like, because before I have it, I'm like, I want to be a little caffeinated and I want to be a little, but then I have it and then I just, my whole day shot.
so sensitive. I love coffee. Well, I just have one in the morning.
So does she. I mean,
Love it.
Taylor can,
Drink.
she can drink it before bed.
Yeah. Yeah, you're sensitive. And I think as you get healthier too, you start to become more sensitive. I don't know if you become more sensitive or you become more, aware of
Yep.
like, and it's a good thing. But yeah, I definitely, as the healthier you get, the harder it is
Yep.
to not be healthy.
100%. Taylor, can you do me a favor? I can hear a German Shepherd through these headphones, like habitually barking. Can you just go be on bark control and figure that out? I can tell the bark
That is so funny that you know that's a German Shepherd.
100%. If people are listening, you can probably hear it too. See if you can.
I heard it.
Yeah.
I know it's a German Shepherd.
So it's funny, like with these microphones, it'll pick up that. Taylor couldn't hear it,
Yeah.
but I can.
Oh yeah.
But that's 100% a German Shepherd.
They should. That's a good piece of content for you, for someone to have you listen to a bunch of different barks, and then
Yeah,
you
like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, what bark is this?
Yeah.
German Shepherds, Malinois,
Yeah.
terriers, they all have like a very distinctive bark.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I remember like when we first started our company, we had so many German Shepherd clients. We almost jokingly, we changed our name. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it, but I still.
So that's distinctly a German Shepherd,
Yeah.
1000%. Who is it, Taylor? Yeah, I know it's a German Shepherd, but is it a client or is it a staff dog? Okay. Anyway, yeah. So I can so anyway, people who are listening, sometimes we just can't get away from the bark. But anyway, yeah, that would be a good piece of content,
really
right? Like
would.
name the bark.
Name the bark.
And and then like we could put it up on screen, like what it is, and then I have to try to bark it.
Yeah.
Frenchies are pretty easy
Yeah.
to discern.
I mean, I guess I could tell like big versus small dog, but that's about
For sure. Oh no, that's
Yeah.
if you're around it enough, you'll know like what breed it is. I wanted to talk to you about the Clean 16 because I know that's like a new thing. What's the deal with that?
So the Clean Label Project is a nonprofit that independently tests people food, baby foods, protein powders, and pet foods. And they test them.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Say that again. I gotta digest that.
Yeah.
People food,
Yeah.
baby food, or baby powder. Same.
That's a good question. Could be
Like formula.
yeah, probably formula. I think is one, and they might do baby food too, but I would think maybe formula.
Okay. Dog food.
Dog food, protein powders. There could be other things too. Those are just like the big ones. I'm thinking they basically are testing various products for contaminants and heavy metals.
Oh.
And so recently they tested 79 of the most popular dog food brands.
Did they openly say? Okay, so they did it discreetly.
So you don't know you're being tested. We didn't find out until after. Nobody knows. You don't pay to be a part of this, or it's not sponsored. Like they just go and independently purchase.
Who funds that?
Good question. It's a nonprofit, so I don't know where they're getting the money, donations from, but we could look into.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm always just cautious.
I know
about that.
I am too. But I think
because it could be like, hey, we noticed.
Yeah.
But if you make a donation,
yeah, yeah,
we won't notice.
yeah, I know, totally.
Scary.
Well, I can tell you, as a brand that was listed on the Clean 16, we had no idea that this was happening and did not give any money to be a part of it. So that I can say for sure.
That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So 79 popular pet food brands across categories. So air dried, dry kibble, frozen, raw,
Fresh.
fresh.
Cool.
And so out of the 79, only 16 passed their purity test and made it on their clean 16 list. We Feed Raw was one of them. But what was most sort of interesting about this is like the scale of the difference between categories. So dry foods tested significantly higher in contaminants and heavy metals than the fresh and frozen foods. So dry food, for example, had 20 times more mercury, 20 times more lead, 24 times more acrylamide, which is like an industrial byproduct. It's looked at a lot in ultra processed people food. Um, it's categorized as a probable carcinogen, and it forms when you high heat process carbohydrate rich foods, which is exactly what kibble is, right? So I think what they did say too is like it's not about trying to make people think that like if you feed this food, for short term or, one meal is dangerous or that these companies are doing anything illegal. But because dogs eat the same food, day after day, year after year for an entire lifetime, it's the accumulation of these compounds that can be really damaging. And I think that's what is really eye opening, right?
Mm.
I mean, we weren't surprised that we were on the clean 16, that we were, you know, had low levels of contaminants because we do our own heavy metal testing internally and we know that our numbers are good. It was a little surprising to see that only 16 made the list.
When was this done?
This was maybe 5 or 6 months ago. Yeah, so recently. Um, and yeah, but again, they do also.
Take that mic and put it closer. Yeah. Yeah, there you're good.
Okay. Um, oh yeah, that sounds a little better.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's just eye opening. I think that obviously with dry foods, there's a lot of factors, namely, the ingredients tend to be lower quality, and also the processing. The processing is going to, there's also, a lot of grains. That's where you'll find some of these heavy metals. Um, so interesting little thing to have, come out. Again, we were happy to be on there and not surprised, but a good little fact for people to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So um when they categorized them,
Yeah.
16 pet foods made the list, or altogether 16 companies made the list of being clean?
16 of the brands that they tested. So they'll just pull like something off the shelf or order your foods because we're not on the shelf. So they must order, I think they tested our chicken recipe, for example, or they'll test, the farmer's dog or whatever, they test these other brands
Yep.
and they'll pick one recipe and test it. Um, I don't think they can test like all your recipes or that would be like astronomically expensive. And out of the 79, the 16
Wow.
recipes from these specific brands, 16 brands, were clean.
So they kinda did like yucca,
I
the
guess yucca is,
yeah.
yeah,
Kinda just did that
yeah,
basically
I
'cause
yeah,
that's a that's something I
and they don't tell you. I mean, I think some people were upset because they were like, "Well, what are the level?" They just said like, you know, 20 times higher, 24 times higher,
wow.
they said like concerning or alarming levels in dry food compared to frozen the frozen foods. So that can include fresh and raw. So the frozen food category tested significantly better. So that's just something interesting for people to think about when they're,
Well,
purchasing
yeah, like
food.
like I said before, before we went live, I was Dr. Judy Morgan was on, and she was
Yeah.
telling me about how many cases of salmonella and E. coli were found in kibble versus raw food.
Mhm.
Because I know like dog owners have a hard time, and even people who don't feed raw food, they're like, yeah, E. coli, it's chicken. It's because we've just been told our whole lives
Yeah.
that like if you get like raw chicken anywhere,
Yeah.
like you got to come in with hazmats, and it's like, yeah, you definitely don't want
Yeah.
to be throwing around raw chicken by
Yeah.
any means, but
Yeah.
it's like you just have to I cook chicken probably 3 times a week at my
Mhm.
house, and it's
Mhm.
the same exact procedures I would do with my dog food. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, I have a specific cutting board, I make sure I wash everything, and I spray, and it's like,
Yeah.
and I have young kids, and
Yeah.
they're running around, and
Yeah.
so I think it's just again, it's eye-opening, but what are what so Do you feel like now that the kind of I don't even wanna call it, like, whistleblowers or anything,
Mhm,
but I think now like, I get so many ads for
mhm.
fresh food now, like, it's
Yeah.
c companies I've never heard of.
Oh, yeah, there's a
Like,
lot popping up.
every day
Yeah,
there's a new company.
yeah.
Do you worry about big companies coming in, marketing as a fresh or a raw diet, and then sneaking in? Because I think it's about efficiency and money, right?
Yeah,
Because even, Siete, which is, like, a really cool company
yeah,
that I used to buy a lot,
yeah,
they make these, the tortillas,
yeah,
which they had, like, the almond flour
yeah.
and what else did they have, Taylor? Like, the
Chickpea.
chickpea flour and is a really clean ingredients. There's,
Yeah,
like, 3 ingredients. Now, I think, like, what, Pepsi or somebody bought
yeah.
them.
Nestle or yeah,
Pepsi or
uh,
Nestle, one of the big guys, and now they put the gum in there,
yeah.
which is like it's like, "Why?
I know,
Why'd you do that?"
I know.
Like, it was perfect
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
So are you worried I shouldn't say
Oh,
are
like
you worried, but, like, do you think that that's gonna start happening where, like, the big companies, like, the Mars are gonna come in, they're gonna see, like
Mars is making their own. I mean, the big pet food is already entering the space with their own products, you know?
do you think that's good or bad?
I think it's good because, yeah, we're moving in the right direction, and that also they're recognizing that this is a consumer shift that's not going anywhere, and that unless they wanna be left out, they have to get involved. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing. Of course, I would rather dogs eat that than, ultra processed kibble.
Mhm.
But, as a consumer, you still have to look at the brand as a whole and decide if you trust that. And there are lots of other brands that, might have more of your trust.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do think it's ultimately a good thing because, the more food that's fresh and less ultra processed is better for dogs. And that's, why we're doing what we're doing anyways,
Right.
Um, Kibble still dominates. I mean, it seems like because we're in this space that it's like, of course, it's growing more people than ever, but the predominant pet food choice in this country is still kibble. And, you know, I think that what we view like dog health, our definition of dog health is far from optimal. Um, Dogs in the US are surviving, they're not thriving, they are undernourished, understimulated, and overfed.
Mm.
60% of dogs are overweight or obese. And that statistic should be startling to all of us because it's not just cosmetic. We know that obesity is linked to joint disease, it's linked to diabetes, it's even linked to reduced lifespan. Studies have shown us that dogs at an ideal weight, at a healthy weight, live an average of 2.5 years longer than those who are even slightly overweight. 2.5 years.
Mm.
That's a long time for a dog,
Mm.
And it's not just weight issues, it's all chronic issues that have increased. There's more allergies, there's more digestive issues, there's more skin issues, gut issues. Chronic issues have become common. And at some point, we just have to ask, like, is the baseline working? Like, something isn't working here. And, vets, not to blame vets at all, they're operating within a system they were trained in. Um, but their nutritional information is often very limited and heavily influenced by big pet food. So when the default recommendation for food is ultra processed, we have to question that, and the reason it is because it's the most familiar, it's the most standardized, it's the most widely accepted, but that does not mean it's the most optimal,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah, 100%. I had a, vet on that is gonna come back on,
Yeah.
and, she was saying that I think it just goes back to like, opening your door of, like anytime, like, if I see something, right? So my job as a canine professional
Mhm.
is to help dogs and their owners live a less stressed life
Yeah,
and a better quality of life.
yeah,
Whatever that means, however that is,
yeah,
whether it's pulling on the leash, not coming back, being able to fly on a plane, whatever. Like
right,
that's my job and passion. I want to help you live a less stressed life with your dog.
right,
If at any point in time there's information that's released or technique or a method or a piece of equipment that makes my job easier, I'm adapting that 1,000%,
yeah,
right? But the problem with a lot of veterinarians, because they have $400,000 or whatever in debt, and they're getting paid by these veterinarian companies because the companies who are making the food are also buying their hospitals.
mhm,
So you kind of got this like, hey, this is the food we're going to recommend. I'm going to bring everybody out for lunch. You're going to come. So to me, I think what it comes down to is just understanding that veterinarians are not always trained in a full spectrum understanding of nutrition. And in fact, the most veterinarians I have on, conventional or integrative or even
Yep.
holistic, have said, like, we don't get trained in nutrition at all. They have
Yeah.
to make the vet that I had on that we're having back on. She said after watching a couple of my podcasts that she took Dr. Billinghurst's raw food
Yeah.
thing because she was like,
It's a program.
I want to know more.
So you had a conventional vet on that wasn't open to raw?
No,
Oh.
she didn't know about it.
She didn't know
So
about
she
it, okay.
said that
Yeah,
she looked into
yeah,
the whole process and she was like, "Holy
yeah,
crap."
yeah,
'Cause because I think people just like put their head down and they, they just do a certain
yeah,
thing. They've been told a certain thing. And to
right,
your point, like if I come in as a pet owner who
yeah,
doesn't have a degree
yeah,
in nutrition, and I'm not a doctor, and I come in and I say I'm feeding raw and they said you shouldn't,
yeah,
it's offensive to them. Like, "How
yeah,
what are you talking
right,
about?"
right.
And it
Yeah,
and but, I tell this story all the time. I wanna talk about HPP
yeah,
because I think it's really important because I mentioned it because I did go in, probably in the last 2 years, I can't remember, and we talked about raw food, and I
mhm,
said, "Well, raw food's dangerous,"
yeah,
and I said, "Well, the raw food that I use
mhm,
has the HPP process,"
mhm,
and she was like, "Oh,
mhm,
what's that?" And I
yeah,
said, "It's pretty simple,"
yeah,
right? So talk to me about the HPP.
yeah. So HPP, stands for high pressure processing or high pressure pasteurization. So it uses cool water at high pressure to inactivate harmful pathogens like E. coli, Listeria, Salmonella. Um, it does not use heat. It does not use chemicals. Now, there many companies, big commercial raw companies in the US are using this, right? It is a very effective natural kill step, which is why so many raw companies do use it. I can't speak for what other raw companies, their parameters for HPP. So our parameters, for example, we have a specific hold time, which is how long it's held under the pressure, temperature that it's held at. Um, and we've done validated studies to ensure that our HPP parameters equal a 5 log reduction, which is just a fancy way of saying that 99.999% of the pathogens are eliminated.
Hmm,
So that allows us to say that our food is as safe as gently cooked. So we are, the raw of 20 years ago, or, it's just such a different game now. It is entirely possible to have a safe, science backed, carefully formulated raw product. And I think that a lot of the, information out there hasn't caught up to what commercial raw brands are doing,
hmm,
like us, to make it safe. Um, we were talking earlier about vets, my vet, and like I go to a conventional vet in my neighborhood, um, who I go to mainly. I started going there because they're just right in my neighborhood. They're privately owned. I am a, unique case because I know so much about nutrition myself, so I don't really need to go to a vet for that. But what's great about her, she's a great vet, right? She gets on the ground with my dog. We talk sometimes for an hour at an appointment. She's really invested. She doesn't know anything about raw food. I'm obviously happy to give her all the information that
yeah,
she could possibly want. But she asked me all the questions. What's the sourcing? What's the formulation? What are the safety steps? And she didn't know any of this, and she was much more open-minded after we spoke. Um, so I think it's great to see those questions and that curiosity coming from even conventional vets, because it just creates space, to have these important discussions and like help them think a little differently. But, if I was just an average pet owner that didn't do what I do and have the knowledge, I think it's better when people can seek out more integrative vets because they are going to be open to this and they're not going to scare them away. We have lots of customers who tell us all the time that,
yeah.
oh, my vet's saying, don't do this. And we're like, well, what? Like, did you give them this, and this, reason for why it's safe, why it's balanced? But I think the default with a lot of the traditional veterinarians is to, um, steer people away from this way of feeding and then, feed this kibble
Yeah.
that's perfectly scientifically formulated.
What's your advice to people when their vet says you shouldn't be feeding a we feed raw or a raw diet?
To ask why, like, what are your reasons? And, you can go to our website and see why our food is safe, why it's carefully formulated, because the reasons are always gonna be bacteria, who formulated it, is it balanced? And we can confidently answer all of those questions. We are very, like, we're not anti-science. We are very pro-science. We put a lot of time and money into sourcing and formulation and safety steps. So it's just, frustrating and kind of funny to when we hear this like anti-science angle, because it's like the opposite of what we're doing and what a lot of reputable commercial raw brands are doing in the US. We take safety very seriously. Like, you cannot mess around with that. So,
You can't
yeah.
because you'd
Yeah.
get shut down if you weren't.
Or you'd have recall after recall, or, there's definitely smaller brands that can fly under the radar and maybe not have a kill step, but once you get to be a certain size and, you don't want to be having recalls, which nobody does, and you want it to be safe for the people feeding it and the animals, and you have to have safety steps in place that have
Yeah,
been, tested and proven. And we also third party test everything before it ever reaches the end customer. So nothing leaves our facility to be shipped to the customer before it's been third party tested for pathogens. We
it's
also
huge.
test to make sure we're meeting complete and balanced standards. We test for heavy metals. So um, I just think people have to catch up to like the way that commercial raw brands are doing things today. And there's just a lot of leftover, ideas of what raw feeding used to be.
Mhm. And I think it's even with anything, it's from from my viewpoint, there's this cycle
Yeah.
where you get this very basic, primal, instinctual process, and then it gets sterilized. And then what I mean by sterilized is I think companies then find a way to say, "Hey, we're gonna make some money off of this,
Hmm.
and then we're gonna pay these companies to say science says." So my point is
Yeah.
again, with the working with the wolves
Yeah.
and seeing like real hardcore raw
Yeah.
feeders who are just like throwing out, half dead chickens with feathers still on, and
Yeah.
and the dogs are just like dismantling them and like eating the heart and eating the, like
Yes.
real
Yes.
hardcore raw feeders who have been doing this for centuries, like
Yes.
people who have been feeding raw food
Yeah.
to dogs, like
Yeah.
even dogs who live on farms
Yeah.
where they're getting whatever they're killing stuff, or they're
Yeah.
getting like placentas of animals who are being born, or whatever. Like
Right.
it's just like
Yes.
they're just going to eat
Yeah.
that, and they're fine and they live that life and they're healthy and
Yeah.
they have energy, and then we just go through this commercialization of like sterilization,
Mhm.
and then it gets to a point where there's like a gatekeeping because there's so much money
Mhm.
involved.
Mhm.
That's what I've been realizing anyway. This is subjective to me, but it's also like I don't I don't have, like, skin in the game either way.
Yeah.
I just see, like, what is actually happening where I'm like you see, like we get back down to the same thing with training,
Yeah.
right? Like, you see a dog who let's say a dog has a bone here, and this other dog comes up, and the dog comes over and corrects the dog, and the
Yeah.
dog walks away.
Yeah.
That's the most primal,
Mhm.
natural. I don't need science to tell me what just
Yeah.
happened there. This dog corrected this dog. And then all of a sudden, after you go through this sterilization process, and now there's all these certifications, and then these schools, and these schools are like, you can't let natural things happen. You need to pay us to go through this because
Yeah.
actually science is now starting to say that natural. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Somebody's just trying to make money somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting that like the food, the training space, the mental health space, the exercise space, like it's just basic common sense critical thinking
Mhm.
about like, hey, do you want to feed your dog? We're going to get all these ingredients and sometimes these minerals and supplements that are imported from
Yeah.
China and they don't really have any, and then we're going to pack it through a sugar and pack it through carbohydrates. We're going to heat it up, we're going to protrude it out, we're going to
Yeah.
put, and then we're going to, or would you want this chicken that we
Yeah. Yeah.
deboned
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
you know what I
Like,
mean?
why does the fear have to be so much about this like natural thing versus this like,
It's critical thinking,
yeah.
right? It's like use your brain, hold
Yeah.
on, use your brain,
Yeah.
this whole process, and then
Yeah. Well, we have a fear of bacteria, obviously, in this country too. Like, we fear it. But I will say, and this isn't to like defend the FDA, but like, you know, there's a zero tolerance policy for pathogenic bacteria in all pet food, and that is raw included. I don't think that that is just trying to make money off of it. I think they're trying to protect, people. I think that DIY raw feeders, I always say all power to you, more power to you. Like, I wouldn't probably even be doing that myself if I didn't work here. It's a lot of work. You have to try to balance
Mm,
and find all of the ingredients and grind and blah, blah, blah. But I do think HPP, I really love it as a process because it, again, doesn't use heat or chemicals. There's sometimes people will say, oh, well, if it's killing the bad bacteria, it's killing the good bacteria too. Meat isn't a natural probiotic source, okay? You're not getting probiotics from the meat. What's important is the composition of the diet, which is the meat, the organs, the bone. That's where they're getting, the gut health benefits from. Um, if you were maybe feeding green tripe, I think that's one that does have a lot of healthy bacteria in it to start. But I just think there's a lot of people hear it as a process. They think it means it's more process. I think it's a really wonderful step. It's something we've talked about this before. It's used all the time throughout people food, on all baby foods, on any ready to eat foods. We have probably all of us in this room eaten HPP food this week. So it gets a bad rap, I think, in the raw food sort of like fanatical world, but
yeah,
it really is like a great way. And I mean, can dogs handle bacteria in ways that we cannot? Yes, of course. They're facultative carnivores. They're designed to handle bacteria. Um, I think the FDA is more concerned about the people
handle.
handling the food, small children in the home, older
Sure.
people. Also, yes, the healthy dog has a healthy gut microbiome that can handle more bacteria than we can. But did all dogs have a healthy gut microbiome in the US? Like some dogs might be more sensitive to pathogenic bacteria than another dog. So I do think it's a really great step. And also, if you want to be in business as a raw food
For sure.
company here, like you got to be doing it. So
No, for sure, and I guess I don't mean it to be like, don't go through the processes. I
yeah,
just feel like the matter of fact is you guys have commercialized a way to make things primal and instinctual and
yeah,
natural,
yeah,
and you made it safer,
yeah,
and I feel like, to me, it's hard to understand why people are so like, "No, no, no, we can't," you know?
yeah,
So, going back, I think one of the biggest things, again, I had a we were in a coffee shop in Saratoga the other day, and I met these, they had a Saint Bernard, so we just kinda struck up
yeah,
a conversation because I had a Saint Bernard, and so he was really friendly and stuff, and, I just say like, "Oh, how old is he?" Blah, 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 and they're like, "Oh, he's, 4 or whatever," and they said I said, "Oh, that's great." I said, "I had a Saint Bernard before," and they're like, "Yeah." They said, "When he was younger, he had really bad, like, skin issues, and we switched him to raw food," and I was like, "Oh, interesting,"
yeah,
and I was like I just I just said, like, "Oh, yeah, I feed raw
yeah,
food," it was funny because I was like they're like, "What do you feed?" I said, "We feed raw," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we see ads for them all the time." I was like, "You probably see me." I was like, "You probably have seen me at
yes,
some point." But what it was just cool because I think so many people are now shifting to this area, but I think the
yes,
biggest thing that I see in your ads or in your posts or even in my posts when I talk about
yeah,
raw food, and I just wanna be clear with people, I obviously partnered with We Feed Raw, and I've partnered with other companies, but the only time I partner with a company is because I'm already using their product
yeah,
or a similar
yes,
product. Like,
yes. You
it's
were already a raw feeder when we met.
yes.
Yeah,
So it's just I just wanna inform people it's not like We Feed Raw was like, "Hey, Tom, you're feeding kibble right
yeah,
now.
yeah,
We wanna pay you to feed raw food and
right,
tell everybody." It's like, "Hey, Tom, you're already feeding our food. Like, can we work together
yeah,
to help people understand more about raw food?" Same thing with Dog Chur, Impact Crates, or any of the sponsorships that I've had. Anybody who contacts me, and I've said this to you guys, where they said, "Hey, we wanna partner." I'm like, I do 6 months to a year, and it's gotta be something I really, believe
yeah,
in.
yes.
Right? Like, we did a sponsorship, project with, Furbo recently, which is like it's, a dog camera app,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's really cool.
Yeah,
Like, they were because we get, as any company would,
right,
you get pitches like, "Hey," and,
yeah,
this company's cool because so many people travel or
yeah.
whatever, and I remember using it all the I use it just to check on my house now. I'm, like, checking on it and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But my point is I think it's really important for people to understand that you are not paying me to be on this podcast,
yeah,
and at no point in time were you like, "You have to feed We Feed Raw." It's like, I'm already doing this stuff, so it's a very, natural thing, but one thing that I see often is like the cost.
Yes.
So people are like, I mean, I think consistently that's the one thing I see is like,
Yes.
there's no way I'm paying $100 a month for
Okay.
raw food. And I'm like,
Yep.
what?
I
I'm like,
Well, it makes I mean, makes sense because people haven't we've been trained to think that dog food should cost a certain amount of money. So this can feel a lot more. It is not feel, it is more than kibble. Like there's I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, right? Because it's real food. It costs us more to make it. Like, we have to have a sustainable business. Um, our food isn't cheap because we don't in order to make our food cheap, we'd have to source cheap ingredients. We'd have to like use process like we'd have to use scary ingredients, honestly. So and we're not going to have a company like this and do that. I think there has to be a reallocation of funds. I think that people need to start thinking about dog wellness in a different way. And like we touched on before, it's like we have this booming dog wellness industry that's like spend all this money on dog clothes and dog toys and like, grooming. And I'm not saying grooming isn't necessary, but it's like if you're still feeding, ultra processed food and you're cheaping out on the food, like none of the other stuff really matters. Um, so we've seen a lot like we have one lady who was telling us that she was spending hundreds of dollars a month on steroid shots, allergy shots for her dog, and it still wasn't helping.
hmm,
And at one point she had like a light bulb moment and said like, "Why don't I just try this food because it's going to cost me the same amount of money, right?" So she switched to our food and sure enough was able to stop giving the steroid shots and the allergy shots. And so that was a reallocation of funds, right? She
mhm.
started putting the money toward food. And that's a much better feeling, right? Because you're actually fueling your dog rather than just like treating symptoms that you're not sure what the root cause is. Um, I think we're so used to managing symptoms, like we default to that. And even with ourselves and especially with our dogs, that's sort of the conventional system is like to manage the symptoms, right? We have a lady that came to us recently. Her dog was a senior dog. He was limping pretty badly after even like short walks. She was had him on anti-inflammatories, was trying acupuncture, nothing was working. He was having horrible digestive issues from the anti-inflammatories. She switched to our food. Within a few months, this dog, who 12 and a half years old in visible decline, was now running, jumping, had the zoomies again, and all she changed was the food. She was able to take him off the anti-inflammatories because and was no longer having those issues. So it was just such a cool thing to see these dog owners switch from how do we manage the symptoms to what if the food is part of the reason why he's struggling, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
Um, and so I think just getting people to see that, investing in something like this now does have a really high ROI. You're much less likely to have, I'm not saying it cures everything, but you're much less likely to have um, high vet bills down the line, having to, pay for managing a bunch of symptoms that are a result of eating a low quality, starch heavy diet. Right. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, but that's a lot of work that we have to do. And it's a lot of, education on like why this can be better because it's hard to value preventative health up front, right? Your dog, especially puppies or younger dogs that don't have any problems yet. Oh, they're fine on kibble. They're doing great, but it's like as they start to get older, things start to pop up. We've also, normalized a lot of conditions, right? I think we're used to like, especially the obesity thing or the overweight dogs. Like overweight dogs are everywhere. People don't even know what a thin dog looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have an English bulldog who was raw fed her whole life and she had a waist and like people were like, so weird, she doesn't look like an ottoman. She'd be
Boy,
like, "Well,
girl.
actually, yeah," and then we take her to the vet, and every time we take her to the vet, they're like, This is the healthiest bulldog we've ever seen,"
Mm.
because people aren't they're used to, like, chunky and, like, these, like, chubby dogs are cute.
No, I know
It's
that's like the worst, right?
Yeah,
Where you get like a really good lean, muscular dog.
yeah,
People are like, "Do you feed your dog?"
yeah.
And it's like,
No, this is just how
this is how a dog is supposed to look. You're supposed to see them hips,
Yeah,
like
I
not
know.
just like this beaver.
Like, Rob from Gussie
Yeah,
Got his dog is like he has, like, so he's like
yeah.
But and I saw something today actually on one of our influencers who has 2 Goldens, and her Goldens are in great shape, they eat our food, and she posted something where someone was like, "What kind of are those a different kind of Golden Retriever? They look thinner than, like, the
No, yeah.
normal kind," and it's like, "No, probably just the healthy kind."
Yeah, no, I know.
You
It's
know?
I think just in general in America we have so much sugar, so much process, and it doesn't happen really any other country.
Yeah.
Like if you go to other countries, like we've luckily had the opportunity to travel the world
Yeah.
working with dogs, and when we go to other countries, it's like it's complete the food's different, the dogs are different, the training's different, the
Yeah.
people are different, like
Yeah.
everybody lives a different life, but in America, it's like and it's crazy, like yesterday we went out to lunch with our kids and our and my mom and stuff, and my son brings me like this lemonade. He's like, "Dad, can I have this?" And I flip it over, and it was like 17 grams of sugar, and it's 2 doses in a bottle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, dude."
Yeah.
I'm like,
I know.
"You're this big."
I know.
So I think just people are so used to because it tastes so good.
They
Like
so good.
Doritos are like actually I saw this thing that like to your point, I think the market switch is happening so rapidly
Yeah.
where people are educated. They're
Yeah.
listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
They want to feel better. They want to look better. They want to live
Yeah.
longer. And we're seeing this switch. The alcohol industry is getting crushed, right? By the marijuana industry, even the fitness industry. Like
Yeah.
What is it? Gen Z are not drinking.
Yeah.
They're just not drinking. So now, like, if you go to a restaurant or you go to a bar, it's like half mocktails and half normal
Yeah.
cocktails. Where before, if you asked for an NA, it's like you had one option,
Yeah.
and it was like for
Totally.
alcoholics.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. It wasn't like
Totally. Yeah.
you're drinking an NA because you just don't want the alcohol,
Right.
right? Now it's like a thing where
Yeah.
people are like, I don't want it. And Taylor always makes fun of me too,
Yeah.
because like she's like, "If you're gonna drink a beer, don't like, just if you're gonna drink the carbs, just get a regular beer, like,
Yeah.
screw the NAs or
Yeah.
whatever."
Yeah.
But it's just funny because there's this huge shift. I had somebody on recently, that was talking about how the marijuana industry is crushing the alcohol industry now because the n I mean, whatever, I mean,
Yeah.
marijuana's better let's just say on paper, way better for you than alcohol is, right?
Yeah.
There's the addictions and then there's the whatever, right? I mean, there's you got splitting hairs there,
Yes.
but the legalization of marijuana in certain states in New York and other places is just crushing the alcohol industry. And so now the alcohol industries are buying up all the cannabis shops and they're trying to like switch over to cannabis products and so my point is I think that there's this shift too because I even saw the other day there was like this ad for Doritos Naked. I think it's what it's called, where it's like,
Yeah.
know this, know that. Like the
Yeah.
brands are purposefully now going like, we don't have bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what have you been doing all these
I
years?
know. And also, like, I don't know, it's like it's kinda like the dyes thing too, where it's
Hmm.
like, okay, well, it's still Skittles, or it's
Hmm.
still
Well, no, it's still
I
Doritos.
know, it's like still like, why don't you eat a healthier snack? But
No, I
I hear
know.
what you're saying. It's like totally this, they are responding, which is a good sign, right? Because
Mm,
they're like in the past, I think raw food, I remember hearing someone say the big pet food is watching, but they're not concerned yet. And that was probably like 10 years ago.
mm,
But the consumers drive the movement,
for sure.
and they're the ones that are uh, demanding the changes. And I think it's a good thing. And
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just interesting. It's like the Doritos Flaming Hot. Like I'm obsessed with those. I haven't had them in a couple
you're
years.
nice. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like if I can't just eat one of those,
Yes.
like it's so good, like
Yeah.
you just can't stop.
Yes.
And then of course, like the flame, like the healthy flaming hots, they suck, right?
Yeah.
They're just because they're not
Yeah.
packed with chemicals. But I remember like my friends from the UK.
Yeah.
I have friends that live in the UK and they come over and they stock like their
Oh my
suitcases full
gosh.
of like
So
if you travel outside of the country,
yeah.
I remember in London there's like stores where it'll say like American candy, and
Yeah.
you're like, "What?" And just
Yeah.
because it's like these little stores who only import American candy because they can't get those certain
Yeah.
things in other places.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, the Mountain Dew I can't remember where we were, like, Portugal or somewhere. The Mountain Dew bottle is lime green
Yeah.
because they can't add the dye in the actual soda.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, like, in United States, like,
Yeah.
they can put highlighter fluid in
Yeah.
that Mountain Dew and get away with it, and kids are sucking it back,
I
and but in other countries where it's illegal to put those things in there, they have to dye the bottle to make their stuff look like Mountain Dew is in the United States, and it's like and I remember as a kid just throwing back Mountain Dew, like,
my gosh.
"What is
Yeah,
going on?"
I know.
Like, how did my
So
parents let me do
it's
that?
so
But the cost thing anyway, those are my vices.
wait, before we can I go to the bathroom? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we
I
take a quick
drink
break?
yeah, let's take a break. I drank
Sure.
this and, like, 2 coffees.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Alright, we're back. So what I was gonna talk about is
Yeah.
the cost. So I know when we first started our partnership and stuff, you guys were talking about, like, even a little bit of raw food is better than just complete kibble, if you will.
Yeah.
So, what do you suggest to people, like, if they say, like, "I'm just gonna spitball an
Yeah.
idea." I mean, actually, let me ask you this, what's the average cost for 1 dog of, like, a raw diet?
Yeah, it's okay, so because our meals are so customized, it really varies, and I'm not just giving that as, like, vague answer, but, like, you can it depends on the proteins you choose, it depends on the, size of your dog, the activity level of your dog, so many different things. So just to start there, that it's, like, very flexible and varied depending on your individual dog. That's the business model. It's, custom meal plans tailored to your dog's needs and your needs, to be honest. That said, I can give you the general number. So, like, for the average 40-pound dog, it's around $60 a week to feed a fully raw diet. Um, but you can start at, like, we have plans that start as, $2 a day. So there's ways to do it. Again, you can do partial feeding. You can, order a meal plan and then, play around with your shipping schedule. So if you only want to get one box, every 8 weeks, like, you could do that. So we make it, like, very easy to have it fit within your budget and your lifestyle. Um, I really, I think people sometimes have a block with this, like, this, like, all or nothing approach is just prevents people from even starting in the first place because
Mhm.
they think, well, if I can't feed them like that all the time, why even start doing this? And it's like, we don't have that same,
Yeah.
approach to our food. Like, we're not like, oh, if I can't eat perfectly today, then I might as well just eat junk food all day, right? We know that even like 20 to 30% fresh, healthy food is going to make a difference. And you can see that. And, their coat, their energy, I mean, you will see a difference. So we really want to be more democratic about it and more open to, like, however you want to feed. And that's why we are very careful about, as much as we educate on kibble and, like, that it's an ultra processed food, not to shame people that feed kibble, right? Like, we're not telling you to give it up completely if that's not an option. Obviously, I think that 100% raw is going to be the best way for your dog. But if that's not doable for you for whatever reason,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I'm trying to think, like, I think it's the same thing with human food too.
Yeah.
Like, if I said I feel like I would get shit if I said, "I'm gonna feed my kids,"
McDonald's or,
or vice versa. If I'm like, "I'm gonna feed my kids all organic, pasture-raised chickens, organic beef, grass-fed organic regenerative beef," I think people would be like, "Must be nice,"
yeah.
and it's like,
Yes. Yes.
so I can see where, and I get it. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not trying to flaunt, or it's just like when I tell people, like, "Hey, I want," like, "Hey, I think you guys should feed your kids, like, more fruits and veggies. I think it's gonna give them more energy instead of Gushers and, Dunkaroos,"
Yeah.
which is what I ate as a kid,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, I I think if I was, like, in the kid space, I would be saying, like, "Hey, let's just try to do blueberries, or let's try to, like, flip the package over and see," like, I remember, like, Soley, Soley, is such a good
Yeah.
company. They're, like, one of the only
Yeah.
companies now that isn't bought out by somebody big,
Yeah.
yet.
Yes.
Yet.
I always have to say you.
But like, again, you flip the package over and it's like these, my kids love these mango snacks. They call 'em mango
Yeah, my
snackies.
son eats those too.
Yeah,
They're
I eat
great.
them.
So much better than
I eat
their
their,
candy stuff.
solely just mango
Oh, it's
cheeks,
like
like,
a
yeah, the
yeah,
big ones,
yeah.
uh, as a snack. But anyway, like, if you flip the package over, it says ingredients, organic mango,
Yeah, that's it.
period.
Yeah.
That's it,
I
right?
know.
I'm like, "Okay, that's good."
Yeah.
But then when you flip over, like, a package of, something else, like, if you go to another store and it's like Gushers or whatever, you flip it over, there's gonna be probably 25 to 30 pieces of ingredients, and none of them are gonna be fruit,
No.
or it's gonna be sugar
Yeah.
added and all this stuff.
Preservatives.
So then, okay, objectively, again, using our critical thinking skills here,
Mhm.
we take Gushers and shout out to Gushers, because Gushers are good, but they're awful for you. But, like, we take gut right, I used to eat those as a kid. I mean, that was like, we were when we got
What is
Gushers.
Gush? I mean, I've seen it, but it's like the
Gushers are like those little balls of high fructose corn syrup and sugar, and then inside of them is sugar juice. That's it. Like, that's
like a
literally it.
snack?
It's just Again, it's sugar sold to kids
Okay.
because they taste good, but they
But is it sold as, like, a snack that you would pack in a school lunch?
yes.
Okay, okay.
I mean, yeah,
That's not like Halloween candy.
both, yeah, but no, it's like
It
it's
should be Halloween candy.
yeah, it's not good,
Yeah,
not good. I mean, it is good, but it's not good, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But anyway, you've so if I was, like, in the kids space or even in the nutritional space, which I'm not, and I flip these 2 things over
yeah.
and I go, "Okay, organic." Okay, the ingredients on Solely mango snacks is organic mangoes, and that's it, and then I flip over Gushers or Fruit Roll Up or whatever, and it's, like, 30 different things, and it's high glucose corn syrup, and it's sugar, and it's all these gums and all these things. I go, I'm gonna give these to my kids instead." Okay, not rocket science, right? But and I think it's this, but I think people have a hard time because the like that type of food has been so commercialized and
Yeah.
they're just so used to it, right? When you
Yeah.
see like they're spending so much money on the branding and the packaging and like the commercials and
It
like
must be fine. So many kids are eating it, and
well, same thing with like Taco Bell, right?
yeah.
Taco Bell, I think their beef is one grade above dog food. It's like it's very low, right?
Okay.
So you're getting commercialized,
Yeah.
like you're getting cows who are not getting treated right. You're getting cows who are born with stress and dying with stress. In factory farming, inhumane animals, right? I'm not saying I've never eaten Taco Bell. I'm just saying like now that I'm an adult, I may eat it once a year if I'm in a pinch, and I
Mhm.
get everything vegetarian anyway if I do that right because
Yeah.
I know the factory farming in those fast food places. Same thing with all the other fast food places. It's not good, right?
Mhm.
But then you go, so you see this and you go, or you go over here and it's like, I think the money thing is such a hard thing. And it sucks because money is now the reason why some people will live healthy or not. But it's also a convenience thing where again, you go to like around here, like the big chains are like Hannaford or Price Chopper or like down
Mhm.
south, it's like Kroger or Price Right or whatever. It's like you go to those stores and they have very little organic options,
Mhm.
meaning not sprayed with pesticides and,
Mhm.
any of that stuff. And then you go and then it's just like you go down the aisles and it's just like reds and blues and like cartoons and it's buy me, and you
Yeah.
flip it over. And so for me, it's really easy for me to see like if I see a branding on something, I'm like, it's bad stuff in there. I know it. Like I just know. I can see the colors, I can see the branding. They spent more money on the branding than the actual product,
Yeah.
and you buy it.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing with dog owners is they see something like to your point, like let's say it's $300 a month to feed a raw diet to one dog. Let's
Yeah.
just say,
Yeah.
okay, and then a kibble fed diet would be the let's say I don't know for $20 a month, maybe? Like I don't
If
know.
it's that low, but yes, close.
Let's say
I think
20 to
yeah.
$50 a
Yeah.
month, because
Yeah.
I'm just thinking a full bag of like
Yeah.
a 40-pound bag of
Yeah.
of kibble for one medium-sized dog, I would assume would last at least the month.
Mhm.
So let's say and you get like a medium grade, like let's say I mean, some of the higher end, less processed ones maybe like a Blue Buffalo, I would say is like 60.
And people always say, like, less processed, and I'm like, I think with kibble, you can have maybe ones that have better ingredients and sourcing, but, like, the processing is pretty much the same because you in order to form kibble,
Right. Okay,
you know.
so ingredients and sourcing, because sourcing is really important to me. Like if I'm like I don't eat a lot of pork anymore because I, like, realized how intelligent pigs were, and I just ethically, like, I still do, like, I tend to do chicken,
Yeah.
beef, fish,
Mhm.
um, but I think sourcing is really important to me, like, to have, like, the humanely raised thing, or I'll just go to, like, a local farm that I know, like, I can see the cows,
Mhm.
I can see the
Mhm.
chickens, I can see them not, like, you know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, back to the
Yeah.
solely gushers
Yeah.
thing. I think dog owners, because they go and buy like the package that has the salmon and the chicken and like it looks beautiful, but you don't realize like you are not getting that grade of food. So again, you flip over the gushers and it like looks great and the packaging is great. So people can very costly add in raw diet to their food or less processed diet, not specifically raw food, just anything that's like more fresh,
Yes.
right? So that would be like us if we're gonna have like a McDonald's cheeseburger, we also have a salad, blueberries, and strawberries over
Mhm.
here, right? It's not just all or nothing because
Yes.
that's again, I can't stress enough. I think that's the biggest displacement between feeding raw food
Yeah.
and kibble is
Yes.
people are like, I cannot afford it.
Yes, exactly, and it's is a sticker shock if you're used to feeding kibble, to then come over and look at, like, what a full meal plan might cost for any of the fresh foods or
Mm.
frozen foods out there. Um, so that is one of the reasons that we really talk about that a lot is, like, we will help you find a way to make this work within your budget and your lifestyle, and you do not have to feel bad about not being able to do this 100% because you will absolutely see differences, and you will see it in your dog pretty quickly too. Um, and I don't want it to sound like I'm saying, again, like, obviously, the more you can feed, the better. The more you can feed yourself better, you know, the more results you're gonna see. Same with your kids, same with your dogs, but it just doesn't mean you should stick with just only ultra processed food day after day because, you think it has to be all or nothing. So, I think it's just hard for people to, again, value preventative health through food. You also have to have a lot of patience, I think, sometimes with eating healthy and seeing result like, we're in a society where you go and you take a pill for something and you feel better, right? Right away. Or you go get a shot for something that, and you feel better right away. People want quick, immediate results. And while you will see some things really quickly when you switch to a healthy diet for a dog too, like within the first week, you'll start noticing things, but some things take longer. And I think because we're so trained to think like, oh, my dog is itching so bad, they go get a Cytopoint shot or a
Mm.
Aquil or something and they do see results quickly, but then it's back again, in 6 weeks. Raw food or a healthy diet, will take a little bit longer than a shot would, but it will last longer and it usually gets to the root cause,
Yep.
right? So I think it's just also people, A, not, having like the sticker shock and not really maybe valuing preventative health and thinking like, okay, you're pushing it down the road. Like, I guess if my dog has something in 5 years, he has like a tumor that needs to get removed, or you'll pay thousands of dollars out of pocket to get that removed. I'm not saying that raw food would have prevented that from happening, but maybe, like there's a lot of people, and this isn't just from like my opinion, it's just what we hear from customers day after day who have gone down that path. And
Mm.
I've never met a dog owner who regrets investing in their dog's health. I have met many who wish they started sooner. And that's really kind of sums up the customer feedback we get.
Yeah, I think it's huge. One of the things that, like, if I would define success for me in my career, I would say this success for me in my career is being able to provide my kids who don't have a choice healthy food.
Yeah.
I would rather have my kids eat clean.
Yeah. Then go on vacation or something.
Yep,
Yeah. Same.
100%. Like,
I'm the same.
I would rather live I would rather live in a smaller house with not a lot of amenities, right? I'd rather live with maybe out air conditioner than having to feed my kids the processed junk that 90 I would say 90% of American kids are fed,
Mhm.
right? Like if you look at, I've been doing research on this too, like I think it's called EBT or the food, basically the food
Yeah.
stamps, like the free food that they give out
Mhm.
typically is all the processed stuff,
Mhm.
right? So it's like they just have human beings addicted to certain things, right? And I'm not like yeah, I'm not like Danny, right? What's his last name? Is that his name? Danny? The guy that you guys worked with, the health guy that's like super jacked
Oh,
and
Dan Churchill.
yeah, Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I call him Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah,
just Dan.
maybe.
Yeah, Dan. Like Dan Churchill,
Yeah.
perfect example. Like apex,
Yeah.
in shape, runs like 100 miles with Casey
Yeah.
Neistat and shit. Like I'm like, that's like if I would love to get to that point,
Yeah.
but it's very hard to like. That's
Yeah.
his job.
That's his
Gets
full-time job.
yeah, that's his job
Yeah.
to get to that point, and
Yeah.
God bless him for doing that.
Yeah.
Shout out to him, but I think just like an average person who like can't. I mean, we could do it. Like I could do it. You could do it. It's just like the will to do it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's just like that middle ground where it's like, it's
Well,
just
I agree with you. I totally feel the same way about I would give up other things before healthy eating, but I think that's probably because we've experienced the benefits at firsthand for ourselves. Like we've actually seen
yeah,
how healthy food and, paying attention to your exercise and rest and, whole foods diet can dramatically improve your life.
100%.
And if you haven't had that experience yet, it's hard to think about it in the abstract or value it in the abstract. And I think that is another thing that happens. So we try to explain it, and I think people sometimes see it with their dogs first too. That's another thing. It's like we have a lot of people that will, not be in the admittedly say like, "Oh, my dog's eating this way, but I'm still eating McDonald's." But then they'll see what doing this, switching to this way of food, does for their dog, and they actually are inspired to improve their own diet too.
Yeah.
So food is medicine. We did like a survey, maybe like a year ago, just getting some consumer insights and customer insights, and it was like 97% of our customers believe food is medicine.
Yeah.
It was a crazy number. Like I thought it was so cool,
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of people do see that, but I think maybe I don't know if that happened before or after they started feeding, probably a combination of both, but it is food can be medicine, I think
Yeah.
that's just it's so awesome, and that's why we sort of react to this, um, over the top wellness routines for dogs and people, we're getting marketed to, like, left and right, and there's, like, all these different things that you could do, and I I I think it's great if you already have the foundation, again, but, like, just to, for people that are looking to just give their dogs a better life, like, start with the
Mm.
basics. Just keep it simple and
That's
start with
it.
the foundation. Yeah.
It's basics.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with people. Like,
Yes.
go eat, like, I know it's a little bit extra, but it's less money. Like, you
Yeah.
can grow your own
Yeah.
blueberries. You can raise your own, like, chickens. You can go down, like, to, like, the Tractor Supply and get your own, like, if you wanted to go, right? If you could do that,
Yes.
right? I'm talking about for people,
Yeah.
but I think it's like there's this boom now where, like, there was this boom in commercialization for food back in the day where, like, we're gonna make we're gonna make, like, all these tasty, like, the Doritos and, like, that shit, like, you don't need any of that stuff. It's garbage. It has no nutritional value whatsoever. It just tastes good, and therefore you buy it and you become addicted to it. Trust me. Like, I love that stuff,
Yeah. Tastes good.
but I also know what it does to you.
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, ice cream. Like, if I eat ice cream, I'm like, "Oh, I feel like crap
Yeah.
after." It's like the first, like, 5.
Dairy is not good. Like
It messes with me, like, same thing with, like, if I'm on the, like, it's anyway,
yeah.
I don't wanna, like, for me anyway, it's just, like, once you know, you can't unknow, like,
Yeah.
once you pull
I know.
like, the sleeve back
Yeah.
on, like, "Wait, everything I'm actually eating, it doesn't have fuel in it."
Yeah.
Like, for me, I'm, like, all about fuel, so I wanna
Yeah.
eat something that's gonna provide energy and fuel,
Yeah.
like, and it's been such a shift for me, and my wife's been a big part of that because she'll send me a podcast, I'm like, and it's like, "Why you shouldn't eat whatever." I'm like, "I don't wanna do this. I don't wanna do this." It's like the last thing
I
it's the last thing I'm holding on to.
I know you need to have like one vice, right?
Yeah, I'm like, "God," I'm like,
Yeah.
and again, it's like I don't think we're definitely extreme than the average
Yeah.
person because the average person also eats ultra processed food all day long and they don't flip over labels and they don't look at, like,
Yeah.
the Yucca app has changed I'm working with a client, and, I remember she just pulled out the app, and for those of you who don't know, it's basically an app that tells you, like, what is in like, it'll scan the barcode and
Yeah.
it'll tell you,
I
like,
used it.
what's in it,
Yeah.
and it'll tell you, like, they've, like, 3 ingredients in this product has been linked to carcinogens or heavy metals or
Yeah.
radioactive, whatever, and it'll grade it. Like,
Yeah.
it'll say, like, red means no, but it also could be, like, a really healthy pretzel, but it has too much sodium,
Yeah.
and you gotta, like, pick your
You have to pick
battles.
your battles, and it gives you it's good because it gives you, like, a range, where you're
Yeah.
like, "Okay, well, for a snack that needs to be packed in my son's lunchbox, like,
Yeah.
was it what I would feed him at the dinner table? No, but it's, like,
Right.
good enough to" yeah.
And it's tough with kids too, like, um, oats is, like, the most I think it's the highly it's oats is, like, the number 1 sprayed
Yes.
thing, like, grains that you can get.
Coffee too is one of supposed to be one
Oh, is
of
it?
the toxic like, if you're gonna eat organic, I think they say, like, coffee is supposed to be one of the most important things to,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
org
That makes sense, and same thing with oats, and, like, our kids love oatmeal.
yeah.
So then my wife's trying to make, like, her own, because like, have you ever heard the mush oats?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, like,
Mush, yeah.
yeah, MUSHSH.
Yeah.
They love them
Yeah.
and, like, obsessed, and then our one-year-old, my wife has been able to she makes, like, her own now,
Yeah.
where it's, like, organic oats,
Yeah.
and, like, we've successfully switched our one-year-old off of that because 'cause they're not organic. So, like, they're the most highly sprayed thing of all the things, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but once you know those things, it's tough.
It's really tough. It's like, I know, a blessing and a curse.
It is.
Ignorance is bliss.
And exactly,
Yeah.
and sometimes it is, especially, like, when they're and it's hard, like, when like, and I don't wanna go down the road too much, because but a lot of times, like, the conversation I'm having right now with you
Mhm.
is the same conversation I listened to somebody else have,
Yeah.
and it made me
Yeah.
switch my light bulb, and I was like,
Totally.
"Wait a minute." Like, he
Yeah.
got a, the, the, um, the, the ice cream truck came the other day, right?
Yeah.
And all the kids were going out, and my son's like, "Can I go get one?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And we bought him like what are they called, Taylor? The Bomb Pop,
Yes.
which are awesome.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Let me just see."
Yeah.
Flipped it over, and
I
it's like
love it.
6 servings,
Yeah.
and it's like literally oil, 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 sugar, red dye, yellow dye, red dye, like literally no juice,
Yeah.
nothing. It's all chemicals.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a frozen thing
Yeah.
of chemicals. And then after the fact, he was losing his mind, and we're like, "Okay,
Yeah.
that's the junk food for the month."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least I mean, I feel like with at least my approach to this is like if you're aware, then you know that like this isn't just an ice cream. Like it's like, okay, I know what that is made of. You can have it, but like,
Yeah.
you're going to be more careful about the others. It's just kind of
It's just balance.
it's balance. It's like making sure that
That's all it
it's not
is.
perfection. It's just trying to do the best you can.
That's right.
But I always say too, I'm not going to shame people for feeding kibble, but I'm not going to pretend it's a health food either.
Mm.
And if I weren't in this business, I would want someone to share this information with me too. You can't act on information you don't have. So you can do with the information what you will, but like just sharing it, just trying to educate. And then, you can go find more information somewhere else if you want. But I think it's just to open people's mind and get them thinking differently. Because I had this realization too, and anyone in this business had the same realization, and no one is. I don't think I haven't met anyone in the raw food or fresh food space even that got into this because they just wanted to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard
Especially
thing,
you.
especially raw. Yeah, yes, it's not easy, and I think you have to really be passionate about it and believe in it, and then therefore want to be sharing it with people. Like I love talking about this just because I'm so passionate. I love to see other people like have the light bulb
Yeah.
moment. It's really fun for me. And it's rewarding. And I love that we're helping so many dogs. So like even, we were talking about earlier, like there's this weird transition period that we're in where some people are accepting it more than ever and understanding the logic, and other people are still very, very opposed to the idea of it. But it's just it's overall just cool to see the movement in the right direction. And I'll just keep sharing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know you talked about earlier about like people wanting quick fixes and
Yeah.
stuff. Have you guys, being in the nutritional space, have you dove into peptides or like, because part of peptides is the Ozempics and all that stuff, all the amino acids.
Yeah.
Have you seen that at all in like your space?
I mean, they're talking about this longevity pill for dogs. I don't know if you've heard about that. They're developing a longevity pill, which is
Which is what?
I'm not really sure exact. It's like a beef flavored pill that is supposed to
Who makes it?
I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you could find it. It's just interesting
How
to
can I look it up? I want to know.
just search longevity pill
For
for
dogs.
dogs.
Okay.
Um,
And
it's in development. It's a cool idea. Obviously, if dogs can live longer, that's great. Everyone wants dogs to live longer, but I just find it a little bit crazy that the predominant pet food choice is still kibble, but we're talking about these like, you know, biotech, like futuristic advancements. So we're just like jumping over the
Mhm.
original longevity pill is a healthy raw
Oh,
animal-based diet.
the Flintstone vitamins.
Yeah.
Did you ever remember? You remember
Yes.
those?
Oh, yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
original. This is the
I love that
original longevity
longevity
pill.
pill.
The little
Yeah.
Flintstone vitamins filled with sugar.
I mean, again, it's just there's obviously food isn't the only factor in why dogs are getting sick and cancer. There's genetics, there's breeding, all of that. But I just find there's also they're talking about Ozempic for dogs and cats,
Mhm.
which I find really kind of crazy because
Mm,
dogs can't and cats aren't feeding themselves. They're not opening the
I
refrigerator
know.
door.
I know.
I mean, of course,
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
it's just like what I
Oh,
don't.
I looked it up. So the biggest, this is via Chat GPT.
Okay.
So, take it with a grain of salt. But the biggest legitimate player is Loyal, which is developing drugs specifically designated to extend healthy lifespan in dogs. The main pill is LOY-002, and it's aimed at senior dogs and has already been cleared by the FDA
Mhm.
in the effectiveness hurdles, though it is not fully approved yet. And then the other thing that they're talking about is rapamycin, which we've had Dr. Matt on to talk about too. Is that the one you were talking about? The
Uh,
loyal?
yes, that's the one. That is the one. Now I'm remembering.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it does it
I
doesn't
don't
s-
know what it's actually how it works. And I think it's great that we're thinking about making helping dogs live longer. But what I don't think is great is that we're also jumping over the food part of
no,
it.
I know.
Like it's like, is that gonna make
But
because there's
I wonder if there's certain dogs like with people who they have like thyroid
yeah,
issues or
right,
blood sugar
genetic, yeah.
issues. Yeah.
I think it's not saying it shouldn't exist and, like, it's great, but not at the cost of, like, missing the discussion about food and nutrition, right?
Mhm.
If we were already in a really great place with nutrition and the majority of dogs were eating fresh, whole food diets, I would say, "Oh, this conversation is really welcome and great," but because we're not, it just seems weird to me that, like, we can have these, you know, we're, like, antiquated and dated and, like, this, kibble was invented in 1956, and since then, we've been living in this, like, big kibble era. It's, like,
Mm,
dominating the space. And so I just think it's strange that we, have these other things coming out, like Ozempic for
yeah.
you know.
Well, I think it's a good point. I think
Yeah.
because I have friends who I have friends who are perfectly capable of eating better and working out and losing weight that take Ozempic, and then I have friends who like obesity runs hard in their family,
Yeah.
and then they take Ozempic, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that makes more
Yes.
sense
I mean, I know and not to say anything about Ozempic, I think it's a great drug, for people who need it.
for sure.
Serious. I think it's again, like,
You gotta be
if most
careful, right?
dogs are eating ultra processed food, there's a dog in my neighborhood,
On
who
Ozempic?
he probably should be the poor thing. He's my neighbor's dog. My neighbor is, like, an elderly gentleman who's, like, kind of disabled, so he's not able to walk the dog, and the dog is so obese.
Mm,
It's really sad, and the owner adores the dog. He has dog walkers that come and try to walk the dog, but the dog doesn't even wanna walk anymore. And of course, my husband and I tried to give him some of our food to try, and he's like, "Oh, no, no, he's on a prescription diet." And it's like, I
dang.
think that's part of the problem. It's like you just think, "Okay, well, the problem is being solved because he's on this prescription diet."
Yeah.
But
Well, that's like anything else, right? Like, it's nice to eat good, but you also need other things. Like, you have to move your
yeah,
body.
you
You
have to
have to go
move your
for
body.
walks. You have to, do something.
Yeah.
So this says right here, Loyal is not publicly revealed exactly the active ingredients, but it says that it's a once daily pill. It's designed for senior dogs. It targets age-related metabolic dysfunction. The goal is to improve health span and potential lifespan. So, it just, yeah, it doesn't really say
I
really.
mean, I think it's great. I think it's because I think the founder getting interviewed on with Anderson Cooper, and she sounds great, and it's like it's nothing. I think what this company is doing is a good thing. It's
Mhm.
more it's like the media is like, there's been so many articles about this and so
Yeah.
much news about this, and it's like, we're still living in a society where, like, kibble is, like, dominating. You go to, like,
Yeah.
look at the, pet food aisle, and it's, like, all junk.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just
Yeah, that's and that's why these conversations are so important, and I think that that's why, again, like, I do this podcast is because I learn so much about life on
yeah,
podcasts where two two human beings are talking about, excuse me, issues that they're having or parenting or travel hacks or, mental health
yeah,
hacks or like, and I learned so much by somebody going like, "Hey, I had this issue and here's the things that I did and it helped tremendously." And I tried it and I'm like, "Wow, that's game changing," right?
yeah,
Cuz like again, I think conventional medicine, again, a lot of the vets that I have on that or even in conventional medicine are just talking about like it's ambulance medicine. Like it's
yes,
if you go to the conventional doctor, like again, if you go to the doctor and they say, "Hey, I have this rash," and they're like, "All right, here's some cream." It's like they don't ask how'd you get it or how could you prevent it or, you know, anything like that. They are symptomatic. They are treating the symptom with the quality of care that they need to, right? So
yeah,
they don't tell you how to be a lot of times anyway. They don't tell you how to be proactive. And a lot of times I don't care anyway. I'm like,
yeah,
just give me something to get rid of this.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like I am that patient.
yeah,
But at the same time, there's other things in my life where I'm like again, like mental health for me was huge. Like I realized not actually like I realized once I started drinking less coffee because I was so sensitive to it, like we were talking about. Like, my mental health got so much better because I had all this anxiety,
Yeah.
and I had all these, intrusive thoughts and all these things, like, all the time, like, popping through my head, and I didn't know why.
Yeah.
And I was like, "There's something wrong with me," or
Yeah.
whatever, and then I realized, like, I was listening to this podcast, and it seems, like, so obvious now where you're like, "Yeah, well, if you drink a lot of caffeine and your body can't handle it, it's your wheels are
Yeah.
and, like, you can't," you know?
Yeah.
So and then I realized, like, okay, I'm gonna, like, deke and same thing with alcohol.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
when I was younger, I'm now in my mid-30s, and then when I was younger, I would drink a lot of alcohol, and my body could process it, and as I get older, I'm like, I don't know why I'm, like, all of a sudden having these long hangovers and super anxiety, and Taylor, my wife, is exact opposite. She can drink all night and wake up and have 0 depression and 0 anxiety. Like, if I drink
Yeah.
2 beers,
Yeah.
but I think I'm the like, there's n I think that that's not normal. I think there's something else going on where I think, like, normally like, I asked Taylor the other day, she had 2, I was kinda joking, but serious at the same time. She had 2, Aperol Spritz,
Yeah.
and I was in the bathroom last night, and I was like, "Are you hungover?" Or no, yesterday morning. She started laughing. She's like, "From 2?" I'm like, "I would be." I honestly would be. Like, I would be like, I wouldn't be, like, can't get out of bed hungover, but
Yeah.
I
You
would
would
feel
feel
it
it. Yeah. Yeah,
100%.
I'm kind of the same now too, and when I was younger, I could definitely drink a lot more, and I don't know if it's a combination of getting older and your body doesn't metabolize it as well, but also getting healthier,
Right.
you know?
Well, that
I think I'm
yeah.
healthier than I was in my 20s. Well, I take better care of myself than I did in my
Yeah.
20s, so I'm more sensitive to feeling like shit,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah.
honest, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't tolerate feeling like shit well at all, and, like,
Mm,
when you're in your 20s, you just kinda, like, grind through it and, like,
100%.
go to bed at 4 in the morning, so
Hell yeah.
work.
Taco Bell quesadillas,
Yeah, so I think it's a combo of those things
100%.
psychologically, but
Yeah, you're sensitive to, like, all that
yeah,
stuff, right? And that's the exact same thing for me as I'm trying to, like, live a healthier life, and it mainly started with my mental health, as I
yes,
was like, again, I had a lot of caffeine because when I was younger, like, trying to start my own business while all my other friends were going to
yeah,
college and calling me an idiot for
yeah,
trying to do dog stuff
yeah,
for a living,
yeah,
I was, like, living off of caffeine to, like, keep going, trying to
yeah,
figure out what to do, and then, like, I just, and then I just started getting, like, it was just really overwhelming, right?
yeah,
And then the alcohol was like, at night, like, again, I was trying to, like, start a company and run a company and figure out how to figure it out. I had no mentors,
yeah,
not one.
yeah,
Like, not one single person in my life had started a company that could tell me, like, do this or
do
do that.
that,
I remember I would, like, go to local restaurants that I visited and I knew the owner, and I would ask them to, like, look over a lease for me and stuff, like a pizza shop or a bar. And it was like, but I just remember, like, my goals weren't lining up with my lifestyle.
yeah,
I was drinking,
yeah,
not heavily, but, like,
but
still
you
going
found
out.
your own you found it within,
Yeah.
you
Well, I heard people on
oh,
podcasts
you
talking
yeah,
about
that's how a lot of people do. I mean, I feel the
100%.
same way about, like, even getting into this business and, we've talked about it in the past, but my sister starting it and then passing away and, stepping in. I think sometimes, like, movies and, like, you hear these stories and you're like, "And then my mentor," and it's like, I don't know if that really happens in real life. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't have that, I also found podcasts. I also read as much as I could. I sought out ways to, um, be given some sort of advice on a path forward,
Mhm.
and it was survival, and I, figured it out, but, I think we've talked about, like, how I built this. That podcast was, like, a
Yeah.
huge, it was, like, my support group. I just, like, binge listened to that podcast for I remember when it was, like, a really dark time. I must have listened to it for I'm a runner, so I would just go running and listen to this podcast for, like, a month straight,
Mm.
and it saved me because I was like, "Oh, there are other people out there,"
Bingo.
you know? You feel like you're all alone and, like, is this even the right thing? What if I'm going in the wrong direction?" So, it was really cool, and what's so cool about, you know, the digital space today is that we have access to all of that now. I mean,
Mm.
there's bad things too, but it's great to be able to, like, tap into that a lot
Yeah.
easier than we ever could.
100%. And those 3 things, so, my relationship with alcohol, caffeine, and social media all, it helped my mental health tremendously.
Mhm.
Like, just understanding that it's normal when you go on the internet and you see somebody who has no idea what they're talking about, talk about your life's goal and
Yeah.
achievements, and you can relate to this, like, your passion of, like, and they're like, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Mhm.
like, you're human. So you're like, wait a minute. And I remember, like, for younger dog trainers, or, they would, this one thing I told them, I'm like, you gotta be careful how much you're ingesting on social media because, it's because people are like looking, and again, like I look at social media, but I don't have any social media on my phone. Like everything is, I'm almost going back to like the flip phone type thing. Like I'm just like, yeah, complete analog. Like just because but the only way I really found that out is listening to other people say, like, "Hey, I stopped drinking this, or I stopped drinking that, or I stopped doing this, and it made me feel better, and this is why," and it started making sense, and that's why this podcast is so, like, again, it's like just my passion project,
Yeah.
getting here and sitting down to talk to people like you and other people, just so other people can kinda be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, I have some doctors in here who have been a PhD for, like, Doctor Ian Billenhurst,
Yeah.
he's been a vet longer than I've been alive,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "You get to, like, siphon off, like, the gold from this man,"
Yes,
you
it's
know?
like so access to this amazing
It's
mind,
crazy.
and he's so cool because you should also have, it's another dog food company, but Dr. Marty Goldstein, who has
He's coming on, right?
is he coming on? Yeah, he's a great vet.
Taylor? Doctor Marty, is he still coming on? He's just, he's got a lot going on in his
Yeah,
schedule,
he's
so
busy, but he's, he has a lot of I've been at a dinner with him, and he talks a lot about, being one of the first vets that really thought this way and how his colleagues were angered by that and, like,
going
death
through it.
threats and all of that stuff, so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's cool when now that there are so many more experts who are not only willing to talk about it, but can talk about it so well. I feel like there's even when I first started getting into this, it just felt like there wasn't a lot of, experts out there talking publicly about it,
Mhm.
so it's great now to have people sharing their knowledge and, I mean, I can come on here and talk as I think I have a unique perspective as a founder of a dog food company, a raw dog food company but I'm not a nutritionist or a vet, so it's good to have that perspective too,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, vets are it's changing, it's definitely changing, and I think, like, as I touched on with my vet that I go to see, she's conventional and she, um, is we s we talk for so long, you have to be an advocate for yourself, for your own health, and for your dog's health,
Yep.
and I think she's kind of, like, sometimes taken aback by how much I, wanna be an advocate, but I think she also likes it, like, she likes talking about it. With my dog, last summer was it summer or spring? We had moved to a new house, and he got these, like, hives on his belly,
Mm.
and, like, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what is it?" The same thing, like, I'm like, "Is it the food? Could it be the food? He's been eating our food." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." I, like, took chicken out and, like, it ended up being, we had put grass seed down. He was allergic to
Yeah.
grass seed, but by the time, the hives he had scratched them so much that it was like they had become infected, so then he had to get, like
Dermatitis.
so
Yep.
we did have I mean, I'm not, like, the last person to do, like, a Cytopoint shot or something, but we had to do 1 round of that,
For
and it
sure.
worked, and it was, like, to keep him comfortable, but, she worked with me on it. We talked about all the different, what it
Yep.
could be, what he could do, like, how to make him comfortable. She's asked me again, like, questions about raw feeding, and it's been a really nice relationship. I share podcasts with her too that I'm like I shared, like, the Doctor Nations one with her. I'm like, "You should listen to this,"
Oh, cool.
because maybe you'll be more open to, like, a more, traditional vet
Yeah.
talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it helps when you get people that are, on paper on your team also talking about, because and that's the thing, like, I'm like, I'll talk to anybody. Like, I am not bipartisan about, like, there are certain things in my life that I have discovered that I know for me and my clients as a professional work better and more efficient and more effective long term. So I am definitely in favor of using, like, tools in dog training. Again, it's like this big political thing. And to me, it's like, again, I struggled with that a lot when I first started. Like, I've been doing this now for over 13 years. And I would say, like, the first 5, 6 years of my career, especially posting stuff online, I struggled with people not agreeing with how I did things for a long time. I
Yeah.
couldn't grasp the understanding. Again, like, I could cure cancer, and if I did it with a prong collar, people would be like, "Well, you should just let him die."
Yeah.
Like, like, but now I don't. Like, now I go, "Oh, okay, so I understand, like, if this is political for you," right? Like, we
Mhm.
talked about that.
And no matter what you say, if that's
No matter what
not
you say, what you do, how many
yeah,
dogs you help,
yeah,
if it goes against what they believe in, sh
yeah.
so that they can't zoom out and go, "Wait a minute. am I wrong?
Yeah.
Is there a crack in the for me, I'm like, again, I told you earlier, like, I'm a big believer on, like, whatever works. Like, are you yielding how are you doing this? Like, I'm a big nerd about that, right?
Yeah.
And that's so it's just interesting, in the dog space where you see, again, like, some of my even my guests have come on, like, Dr. Marty Goldstein, I think he's the one we reached out to him, and then he saw a couple of my podcasts, and then they was like, "Yeah, really,"
Mhm.
like, I think, like, within the email, they actually said, like, he's really excited about this. He listened to, I think the one with Dr. Ava Frick, maybe, and he was like, I don't know, anyway, but it was just cool to see different people,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's just one thing I wanted to ask you is, why don't you guys do veggies in your mixes?
Well, we do in the freeze dried.
Okay.
So freeze dried, oh, we didn't talk about freeze dried, I guess. Freeze dried is another is something that we introduced since the last time I've been on. We introduced it last year. And freeze dried raw is basically, if your viewers don't know, is a shelf stable raw product. So, we basically remove the moisture, or anyone who's using freeze dried removes the moisture through a process called sublimation. So the product is never heated; it's always kept raw, but the moisture is removed, which is why it becomes shelf stable. So it's 85% meat and organs and
Mm,
15% fruits and veggies. Um, for the fresh patties, we don't put fruits and veggies, and that's something that our customers don't want. They have it they were looking for a product without fruits and veggies. Now, if you wanna add them, some people do, some people add toppers. We didn't wanna force veggies on people on
mhm.
that product either, like, some pe dogs don't like this, they don't like that. Dogs don't have a requirement for them, so, we kept it, meat, organs, and bones,
Yeah.
but, you
Do
know
do you do the reason why I was asking is
Yeah,
because when I did the gut biome
yeah,
test, it just came back like they were the both dogs were really low in fiber,
mhm,
and I was like, "Huh," and I
mhm,
didn't even think about it.
yeah,
Like, I was like and then I looked at the recipe, I'm like, "Oh, there's no fiber in this," and
yeah,
then I started adding Gussie's gut.
yeah,
So and then I started thinking I did call Rob.
yeah.
Did he tell you?
No.
Okay, I did call Rob from Gussie's gut,
Yeah,
and I said, why doesn't We Feed Raw put
yeah.
fiber?" And he's like, "Well, because a lot of people like to add their own kinda
They
toppers
do
and
like to
stuff."
add, yeah, it's like sort of do it yourself, but
And he told me,
also
he goes, "Don't even call her, I'll tell you."
yeah, and some people really their dog doesn't do well with it. Like, my dog doesn't really need that and doesn't do well. His poops are perfect and, like, but some dogs, like my mom's senior dog actually did well with a little bit more fiber, so it just depends. I mean, dogs really, it's based more on the prey model raw diet, so what dogs would eat in the wild. I know there's some, like some people think, they would eat the stomach contents of the prey, and some experts say they actually, like, shook them out and didn't eat the stomach. So it's, like, kind of a, I guess, debated topic, but, yeah, if you wanna add fruits and veggies, totally can. We just don't want it to be too much of it because 'cause you'll see if you put more than, I think, even, like, 15% fruits and veggies, it'll just come out the other way.
Mhm.
So they have a harder time digesting them. But, yeah, it's mainly muscle meat, organ meat, finely ground bone, with very targeted, I think 4, like, manganese, vitamin D, vitamin E. You have some kelp in there. We do have kelp in there a little bit. I don't know how much
Yeah.
that's really offering, for the iodine source. But, yeah, I mean, I think that some dogs do better on it, some dogs don't.
Mhm.
People seem to really gravitate toward us because we don't add those in the fresh patties, but yeah,
Yeah, I was just
yeah,
curious because I remember, like I said, I called Rob, and he's like, "Don't even call Amy because 'cause I'll just tell you the answer." I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay," and that's exactly what he said.
Yeah. I mean, you can, you know, it's also raw veggies are not the best for dog. So you have a raw product, you're gonna have like steamed, they say you'd have to like puree that. It just can mess with a lot of the formulation, and also you're not gonna put like raw butternut squash in
Mm,
there. It doesn't digest it. So um we just let people do as you go on our Instagram, you can see like all the different things
yep,
that people like to add on their own. And then,
yep.
it can be a very small amount or nothing at all, but it's completely complete and balanced on its own. Yeah.
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 Yeah, I
Are your
just
dogs having like were they? were their stools really hard and they were, like, straining to poop? Because that's your best sort of
No, I don't think so. I just know, like, when it gives you your on the animal biome
yeah,
fecal test,
yeah.
it'll tell you, like, you're in the red in fiber, like, your dog has no fiber.
And
So
that's supposed to be and they're saying that it needs to have like, it's based on a certain because 'cause we've done that we work with, Innovative Pet Lab, who also does the gut health tests. I don't know if you've heard of
you know who it was? I was talking to Rodney Habib.
yeah,
He was the one who said because of it was Burley's skin,
yeah,
he was the one he's like, "You should add
some fiber.
some fiber in there."
Yeah,
Because, he's in the end of the test, it's like, it tells you, you gotta read I don't know how to read that stuff, that's why I called Rodney, I was like,
yeah,
because that's what he does,
yeah,
and, he was the one actually, I forgot did I tell you? He was like he really wanted to talk to you, he's like, "I think it would be great if they added, like, this thing." Anyway,
yeah,
that's another story,
yeah,
but, yeah, he basically said you should add a little bit of fiber in there, and then that's why and then I called Rob, and I said Rob, who owns Gussie's Gut, which is fermented, like, super greens and stuff,
yeah,
which is really cool,
yeah,
but anyway,
yeah.
I got it
Well,
all I got Gussie's now, and it's all good, but
yeah, that's good. Yeah, people we let them sort of choose, and some people don't add anything, and it's great, and some
yep.
people,
No, it makes
but
sense.
the meat-based diet is really gonna be producing and promoting a gut health, healthy gut microflora. They've done studies where, like, raw diets actually promote healthy gut microflora, whereas,
Mhm.
like, dry diets promote unhealthy gut
Yeah,
microflora, so
and the fermented veggies are great too.
yes, because those are already it's like what they would eat in the prey of an
Yeah,
animal, right?
'cause yeah, it would be, like, in the stomach, and they're
Yeah.
digesting that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Rob does a really good job at all that.
Yeah, he does.
Let him nerd out on that, and I'm just like, "Just tell me what to buy," like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know what to get, but that stuff's been great. If anybody wants to look into, like, fiber and stuff,
Mhm.
Gussie's got is and I've had him on too. Alright, Amy, anything else you wanna add?
No, I think we
It's been great.
covered it all. I mean, freeze dried is a big thing that people we didn't really touch on it too much, but it's our new product that comes in grass fed and finished beef or cage free chicken, and it's just scoop and serve. So
That's
you
great.
can feed a raw diet easier than ever.
And it's good for treats, like, for
It's good for
training,
treats. Yes, you
it's
can.
great.
A lot of people use it as a topper too. I actually mix it a little sometimes with my dog's frozen
Yep.
meals. I put a little on top because like a little crunchy. He likes it.
And I'll just say for people who travel, like, a lot of people are van lifers or they do like, a lot of people who are listening do, like, shows on the weekends or
Yeah,
they do club work on the weekends and
yeah,
they're traveling and raw food, it can be a little difficult if you don't have refrigeration, so the shelf life so
that's right.
what's the product called?
It's called, it's just freeze dried. It's just our freeze
Just
dried.
freeze-dried?
It's beef and
Yeah,
raw
that's great.
freeze dried. You can when you sign up for a meal plan, you can choose freeze dried or you can choose frozen raw. You can also it's flexible as well. So some people will you can order just a box and you're not on a meal plan or a subscription to
Just try
try
it.
it out.
Yeah.
If you have a big dog, it's you'll be feeding a lot. Like Burley would probably
Yeah.
go through like
Yeah, 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 a
six
lot.
bags in a day.
Uh-huh.
So some people with big dogs will definitely mix it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like I said, it's great for treats.
yeah.
Like, I used because they're small that's what I put in the Furbo little thing
Oh
actually,
yeah.
is I put them in there, and they're
Yeah.
great for treats
Yeah.
because they're raw food, but they're like little nuggets, little soft pellets.
Little soft pellets, and it's great. It's, like, so nutrient dense, like, why feed them a crappy treat?
Mhm.
And,
No, they're great.
yeah, so
They're great.
yeah.
Alright, Amy, thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
on.
for having
Thank you everyone for listening. And, I'll put all your obviously, Refeed Raw stuff in the show notes, and also my discount code if you guys wanna try Refeed Raw. You know what's funny the other day? Apparently, sometimes I said, you can save $50 off,
Oh, you
what
did?
I did on accident, where you can save 50% off your very first order. I'll put that link in the description if anybody wants to try, Refeed Raw. But yeah, Taylor was like, "Yeah, you gotta stop saying that." So
Yeah,
anyway.
although sometimes it might be actually more
Yeah.
dollars off of 50%.
Alright, everybody, thanks for listening. Bye.